What up, Joe? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where six guys from around the British Isles get together to talk about anything and everything Detroit Lions. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick, and I'm joined this evening by Ryan McCluskey. It is a Wednesday evening, so that can only mean one thing, and that is the college football podcast. Boy, these two come around so quickly. Good to have you all here with us this evening. I see there's a few guys in the chat here already. Luke G, always good to have you in there. One Pride 40, cheers for watching us there, guys. I think I'm with Ryan this evening. He's caught a little bit of Lions fever this week. He's a bit down with a cold, but apart from that, Ryan, how are you getting on this week?
I'm good, yeah. Things just carry on. You just roll with the punches, don't you? It's signing day, so I thought we can't afford to skip this show, because if we do that, then too much is going to happen and we will never be able to break it all down, because I've already got, as you can see, lists of sheets of paper. It will just get longer, so we've got to get it off while it's hot off the press.
Yeah, exactly. So as Ryan says, it is signing day. So in the world of college football, when kids are coming, for any of our British listeners over here who aren't quite aware of it, when kids come out of high school, they are they are courted by the college sides, depending on which one they want to go to. Each side has a quota of players that it can get coming out of high school, and then they will commit to these colleges. Today is the day. I think it's the early commitment day today, isn't it? I don't think this is the be all and end all of it, but it's sort of the early signing period today, where you will put pen to paper and officially declare yourself to a college side. You can commit beforehand, but it's not official. And as you're going to hear about later, there are a lot of opportunities where you can flip, change your mind. And there's been some really, really big decisions today. So that's probably going to be a big focus of our episode. We're going to go through a little bit of head coach movements first. Then we're going to just go straight in, have a look at the transfer portal watch, the signing day watch. There's stuff going on all over the place here. We'll take a look at the FCS playoffs as well. Ryan's been keeping an eye on that. And then we're going to, me and Ryan are doing a bowl pick watch. There are a lot of bowl games going on this year. So we're going to put our respective intelligence on college football on the line and see who can get the most guesses out of those. But I don't know, we'll start this off. There's the FCS playoffs. Ryan has been telling us about those the last few weeks, and they're getting to the semi-final stages now. I believe the quarterfinals were played over this weekend, and there were a few shocks. Ryan, why don't you let us know what's been going on in FCS playoff land this weekend?
Yeah, as you mentioned, we've gone from the quarterfinals down to the semi-finals. It was an interesting weekend. As you mentioned, big shocks, and I've got to start with the number one team in the nation, the Sam Houston State Bearcats. They were taken down, and in emphatic fashion. Now, they made really hard work of Incarnate Word in the first round that they played. They only scraped by 49-42. Well, Montana State put an absolute whooping on them this weekend, and they beat them by over 30 points, which is a huge shock. Now, this is a team that has been pretty much at the top of the rankings all year. They have been pretty much the team to watch and handle their business most comfortably. Now, as we mentioned with Montana State, literally a week or two ago, their starting quarterback did enter the transfer portal before their previous round's game. So they've had that week to break in someone, which I found was very interesting. So he was called, I'll find his name. So the backup is Tommy Mellott. Now, he's got the start for the Bearcats game, and he had a great game. He was only asked to run the throw 11 attempts, but he completed those 6 of those for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. So only about 55% accuracy, but a good enough for a 42-19 hammering, giving Sam Houston State their first loss on the year and dumping them out of the playoffs, which shocked the world. Some people weren't that surprised because of how poorly they were in round 2 and how you could say they scraped by getting past the Cardinals of IWU, but I did not, and I don't think anyone saw this coming. There was a strong ground game to follow that up, 200 yards rushing as well from Montana State. So they were very balanced offense. On the Sam Houston side of the ball, well, this is where things get a bit messy. the lack of apparent rushing game. They only got about 70 yards on the ground. So Montana State packed the box. They forced them to beat them through the air, but only one team was winning through the air. Eric Schmidt attempted 39 passes, 354 yards for 2 touchdowns, but he threw 3 costly interceptions. So Montana State, which had a great ground game, gave field position nicely for their quarterback to do good solid work on minimal touches, because unfortunately a team that isn't known for giving the ball away was far too generous on the day, and I suppose their match, the title, came crashing to a halt. So the number, I believe, 8 Montana State will go through to the semi-finals, and the team they will meet, I believe, I'll just check this, I believe it's James Madison. Right, so the other semi-final happened, quarterfinal. Yes, they've got James Madison Dukes. Now, these were my early entry pick for the anyone that wanted to have a cheeky flutter on the playoffs. These were number 3, the Dukes. They came through very comfortably against Southeastern Louisiana by a score of 60-29, and they faced a team also from the state of Montana, the Montana Grizz, who were 10-2 in their own right before this, and they were one of the best sides, I believe, in the Big Sky Conference this year. They were very efficient through the air. Cole Johnson went 17 of 24 for 295 yards and 2 touchdowns. And their running back, Latrell Palmer, had 167 yards on just 19 carries. So 8.8 yards an average carry. So they moved the ball very efficiently on both sides. But the defense is what really struggled for Montana. They had 3 quarterbacks throwing the ball. They only came up for 133 yards. That's Robbie Patterson. The starter, I know, Cameron Humphrey and Chris Brown. So 2 interceptions between them. So no passing touchdowns whatsoever. They only scored, I believe, off a field goal. On the ground was a little bit better. Xavier Harris led them for 65 yards, and they got about 150 all in. So they were able to move the chain slowly, but James Madison just put the brakes on them completely. The passing game, the receivers could not get free. There was no accuracy in the passes. They barely got 40-50% between them, 3 different guys. So they rode through plan A, B, and C on the day, weren't able to find any success in the air. And Jim Madison got marching on, and a very comfortable 22-point win, which puts them into their semi-final with another powerhouse. That was number 2, North Dakota State, the Bison that everyone knows, that are, I believe, now in their 4th semi-final in the last 5 years. So they're a total mainstay when it comes to the FCS playoffs. And there was also another dominating performance. They came up against ETSU, which is East Tennessee State. They were 12-1 now after this, so they've only had 1 loss all year. Comfortable 27-3 victory, even more comfortable than James Madison themselves. Shut down ETSU completely. Quarterback Cam Miller, 10 of 17 for 123 yards with no touchdowns. But boy, the damage was done on the ground. Tamarick Williams, 15 carries, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hunter Lupke, 9 for 69 and a touchdown. Kamal Johnson has 48 yards rushing. So a real strong 3-headed monster running back, a bit like a Cerberus. So they kept him on the field long. They wore the defense out, and they cruised to victory in the end, managing to chunk up plays and also chew up clock with such a dominant rush offense. On the ETSU side, they struggled on offense completely. Only 3 running backs took touches. Quay Holmes had 35 yards on 14. Jacob Saylor's 34 on 7, so not a good day rushing the ball. Tyler Riddell, quarterback, an interception of 92 yards at 50% of his passes, so they didn't move the ball either through the air or on the ground. They could just not get anything going. Unfortunately, we're only able to muster up an measly 3 points. So 11-2, they finished their year. And then we go to the final side, who will be meeting the winners, which was Montana State. And that was San Diego State, South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Apologies for that. Now, they had probably the most entertaining game of the week. They were taking on the Villanova Wildcats. They came out 35-21 winners. They're the only 3-loss team currently in the semi-finals, so they've had an up and down year at times. But Villanova were really disappointing in their second round win against Holy Cross. They only won by 3 points. I saw people saying that they should stop playing with their food and just eat it. And well, they came up against something that they weren't able to swallow this time. This was too big a bite for them, and they were taking down the Wildcats. Daniel Smith, the quarterback, was 17 of 26 for 271 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception, which isn't too bad. He was also their leading rusher, 44 yards on 9 carries and a touchdown. So the quarterback had a good day, but unfortunately the supporting cast offered very little in relief. The rest of the 4 running backs only combined for a measly 60 yards. So he didn't get any help on the day, unfortunately. It was a bit of a one-man job. And over on the South Dakota State Jackrabbits side, well, the stay of the day has got to be the rushing performance. Isaiah Davis, 7 yards a carry. It was 25 attempts for 174 yards and 3 touchdowns. Amar Johnson, 14 of 64. Surprising is Pierre Strong Jr. only had 3 carries for 17 yards, and he's one of the sleepers to watch in the 2021 NFL draft. He's been one of the best backs for the last 2 years, so very limited work there. Chris Oladokun, the quarterback, had an average day, 11 of 19 for 152, 2 touchdowns and interception. So they also, like North Dakota State, chewed them up on the ground, had a dominant rushing day, and they just never took the lead and were never be able to wrestle it back and watch Villanova. So the semi-finals are Montana State. They are number 8 against San Diego State. Don't know why I keep saying them. I'm even looking at the screen here. South Dakota State Jackrabbits. And then the big game for me is North Dakota State and James Madison. One of those, I'd love to see that in the final, because one of those, that semi-final is where the championship winner is coming from, I feel. I feel like whoever comes through that side of the draw will probably take the crown this year. That is number, I believe, 2 and 3 meeting in the country. It's going to be an absolute barnstormer, I believe. That is going to be really one to watch. And that is going to set up a very interesting final. But I'd love to give congratulations to Montana State to get to the semi-finals and through 2 rounds when you lose your starting quarterback 3 days for round 2 and being the outsider ranked number 8. So they were the lowest seeded team in the actual playoffs themselves. To get past Sam Houston State, they've pretty much won their championship already. But crazier things have happened. I would love to see them go all the way. So those are the 2 finals. And they are Saturday, the 18th of December. So you've not got long to wait for those. That should be, I believe, this weekend. So this time next week, we will know who will be contesting the FCS National Championship, which should be the week before the college playoff final. So it's taking shape and some very interesting ties. Some teams have really pulled their socks up, fought off adversity, and some teams, like the Bearcats, have really fallen flat on their face, scraped by another side and then got stuffed by another. So FCS is wild this year. It's such a fun format. I can't wait for the FBS to expand their playoffs as well and get in the earlier rounds too.
I know. I was taking a look at them earlier, and the one thing that struck out to me is just, how one-sided all these games pretty much were. They were, 4 teams came in and just, like you say, absolutely wrecked house, and it wasn't even the favorites that were doing it in some of them. They say Villanova, Sam Houston State, both sort of overcome there pretty easily. It's just like, yeah, it was really surprising, but like you say, there's a couple of cracking games this weekend that you're going to get to get through to the final championship. And one of those, South Dakota State, Montana State, they'll have been outsiders for that, so someone's going to get their day in the sunshine for sure. But yeah, that is everything that is going off with the SCF playoffs currently. Say got a good couple of matches coming up to watch this weekend, and of course we will let you know what goes on with those there. Now we're just going to dive in through a little bit of news, and then we'll move on a bit further down into the show. So I believe since we last talked to you, there have been a few more head coaching hires here. And Ash, if you're out there listening, you asked us about which coordinators in college could look next at becoming, head coaches in the league. And it turns out this week, well, over the last sort of 8-9 days anyhow, that quite a few coordinators have actually been promoted and are taking their first jobs in the FBS. So this all starts off with Georgia defensive coordinator Dan Lanning, he has replaced Mario Cristobal as head coach of the Oregon Ducks. He is heading towards the Pac-12 and into a possible matchup with Ryan's Sun Devils at some stage. So the Bulldogs defense, they finished second in the nation in total defense last year behind only Wisconsin. And before that hammering they took against Alabama in the SEC championship game, they were giving up just a mere 6.8 points a game. And Oregon's defense is not defense has been pretty decent. You've got some big playmakers on there. You've got some good young guys in. What do you make of this hire, Ryan? How I know it affects you guys in the Pac-12 as well, but I mean that Bulldogs defense has been fearsome this year, and it seemed only a matter of time before he got a head coaching gig, and he's found it with Oregon.
Oregon, even for the Pac-12, Oregon is probably one of the most attractive jobs out there. Think about they play in Eugene, Oregon. People say that's like Portland, Oregon. It's one of the nicest places to live in the US. That whole state around there is just really, really attractive. It's good looking. It's a really nice place to live. So it doesn't surprise me at all. They can attract high level recruits. Like say he's adopting Noah Sewell, which I bet he cannot wait to get his hands on, because I can't wait to get my hands on him in 2023 or 4, because he's already such a hot prospect. I think Oregon don't have a problem recruiting talent anywhere. I know they've lost some players like Mike Pittman. They lost a 4-star quarterback. That was when that's when the head coach stepped down. But I said, I think was it 2 weeks ago when Ash asked, I said Dan Lanning. I thought that he's the best defensive coordinator. I thought someone's going to come in and poach him. I thought it was only a matter of time, and will they have? I think now we're going to find out is Georgia a good defense because of their players, or is Georgia a good defense because of Dan Lanning? Now, once you take him out of that scenario and you can kind of to isolate the factors, you kind of see who was carrying who. I've got a feeling that Oregon's off defense we've seen this year has been leaky. We only have to go to the 2 games against Utah where they generated little to no pressure. And they conceded 25, 30 points in both games. So when it came down to it, they weren't able to be sturdy in the red zone. I'm hoping that he's going to be a disciple of the old Saban. You say you got Kirby Smart. He's going to be a drill sergeant. I think he's going to come in and bring some serious discipline. I think he's going to come in, shake them up a bit, and he's not going to stand for some of the lackadaisical play that we've seen at times this year, where the offense has been okay, but they've not been able to rely on the defense. I think this is a good fit. I like it. He's probably one of the most. He's only young. He's only in his early 30s, so he's got a long future ahead of him. So to tie him down and get it done quickly is really good. I've seen he's done his first bit of business today. He's offered a new contract to their personnel director, who's agreed to stay now. So he was going to lose one of the higher up board members, but they've agreed to carry on working together now. So he's already showing it's got a good effect on people. In future years, will they be able to flip any players from, like, say, Georgia? Will they flip to the Pac-12? We're going to see. But I think he's got a lot to work with there. Like, say, he's got Sewell. He's got a backup quarterback. He might have his starter in Ty Thompson, that former 5-star recruit that's just been sat behind Anthony Brown. So he's got some stuff to work with there. There's some young key pieces. So it's going to be, the Pac-12 is just such an enigma. Like, there's so much going on right now. Things are going to be really interesting because there's been a lot of head coach movement. There's been a lot of players coming in and coming out. I think it's probably the best time to join it in the middle of the carousel. And I expect that he's going to do good things there.
I think he's just, I think Ash was mentioning earlier, he's poached their offensive line coach, is it? I believe, to go there as well. So yeah, like you say, he's getting his staff in pretty quickly and getting this thing going. One Pride 40, he reckons that Georgia defense was Kirby Smart's and not his. That is a possibility, I guess. We will see what happens with him. Like you say, it's going to be very interesting to see how the two diverge, that defense and him, now that they're not together anymore. But yeah, the Pac-12 is undergoing a lot of renovation this year, as you'll hear about later on as well. So yeah, we'll see how he gets on there at Oregon. Next up, we head to the ACC. Texas A&M defensive coach Mike Elko has taken over the reins at Duke. This is also his first head coach position. And, while his defensive prowess is not disputed, it does remain to be seen if he can take over the full duties of a team. He's moving from coordinator to head coach for the first time. The A&M defense, they finished 20th in the country last year. So overall, a pretty decent year for them. They did have a few injuries knocked around in there and a slight, a difficult-ish schedule. What do you make of this hire there? This is obviously it's a step down in terms of the team he's at, but it's a big opportunity for him there at Duke. But I mean, the ACC, there's a lot of, especially in that, I think it's in the Coastal they're in, there's a lot of dangerous sides in there. He's going to be up against it very early on there at Duke.
With no respect to the Blue Devils, I'm not sure why anyone would want that job. We know for a fact that Duke is a basketball school. The football side get no attention from the athletic board. They don't get any love care attention. They don't really care about them. They're a program that has been on the decline now for a number of years. They've lost recruits. They just lost their star wide receivers. I saw went to UCLA. I don't know the quarterback situation. They've just had their best running back. I believe Mateo Durant may enter the draft, but see if you can convince him to stay now. So I understand he wanted a head coach job, but he has really taken a huge task on here to take probably one of the worst teams, maybe as a Power 5, definitely one of the worst in the ACC. There's a lot to go on there. I hope to give him time. The fan base needs to be patient. It's a risk, but I think also there's very little pressure on him because there's no media impact that's going to happen. They're not big recruiters, not in the football side of things. So they'll be hopefully give him time to work in that sense. Let's see if you can possibly get any guys to go with him because they certainly need defense because Duke ship points at an alarming rate. So it does not surprise me that they went for a defensive minded guy because they really need to buckle up on the back end. They've taken some hammerings this year. I can't remember who it was. Someone put like 66 on them. He has got a lot to do there. But I applaud his bravery. I like him stepping out of his comfort zone in a cushy defense on a good team and going to basically a total rebuild project so that he can kind of mold his own. He's got the room to succeed there because the bar's very low. So hopefully he's able to increase it year by year. And it could turn out to one of the best hires.
Could be. Like you say, don't think the expectation is going to be the highest there for him to start with. But, one thing's for certain, will get harder before it gets easier. But like you say, hopefully the low expectation, gives him a little bit of chance to settle in. Joining him in the ACC, there's a second first-time head coach going there, and he might not get as short a shrift as Mike Elko will at Duke. And we are, of course, talking about Clemson offensive coordinator Tony Elliott. He is taking his first ever head coach job, and he has gone to the Virginia Cavaliers. Now, obviously, he's been at Clemson for a while. You've seen the players that Clemson have produced in the drafts over the years, especially in an offensive capacity. Look no further than Trevor Lawrence in the last draft. There is absolutely no doubting his credentials as an offensive coordinator and a guy who can develop legitimate NFL talent. But he is going to be under a lot of pressure to do well with the Cavaliers. They're a program who's disappointed maybe in the last few years, and that Coastal Conference does have some difficult teams in there. How do you see Tony Elliott getting on at Virginia? Obviously, he's going to have some decent weapons to work there with, going to have a decent defense there to work with, but a lot of good teams in that division, and he's not going to get as much time as the guy at Duke is to start producing results.
I can see why he took Virginia because it's a state that produces lots of footballing kids, good talent, Virginia as a whole. I think the key to succeeding in Virginia is trying to keep these kids staying in state, which a lot of them just don't do. A lot of them don't go to Virginia or Virginia Tech. They kind of go outstate, which is where they lose a lot of talent. Now, Brennan Armstrong has said that he is not going to transfer. He doesn't know if he'll go to the NFL yet, but he said he's staying put. So that's a big thing. I think when you go to a team that's got a very good, stable quarterback, that is very much appealing straight away. This kid's, we saw him put like Heisman numbers up this year, like second, third leading passer in entire football. So that straight away makes you feel good. And that also makes you feel good that the offensive line is pretty sturdy because he's been able to put up good numbers. The record itself, they've been very up and down. I'd say Virginia, not bad side, just very inconsistent. They're going to send like Joey Blount to the NFL. They've got good defensive weapons. They're able to pick up a few transfers. I think the first task for him is to be the best side in Virginia. We know for a fact that Tech and Cavaliers, it's a huge rivalry. They hate one another. So if he's able to surpass them, I think he will buy himself an awful lot of time there. I think this is going to be one of the better hires. I think he's going to enjoy it there. It's a good place to play football. And as you say, the ACC is very difficult, including the Coastal. But I think they'll be up there. He's going to be one of those guys that are keeping them bowl eligible every year, try to get those 8, 9, 10 wins. With what he's got to work with and what he can bring in, I think it's very doable to succeed there. I think it's one of the more attractive jobs that we've mentioned so far.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think, and especially with the caliber of coach you're getting, he is a coach who has got a track record of success of developing players to an incredibly high standard. So you would hope that he's able to carry that on as a head coach. Maybe he can get his coordinator hires right, then they'll be onto something special there. But they'll certainly be a team to watch in the upcoming years now, especially if they can recruit in some good high star recruits there for him. Moving on, because we've got a few left. Oregon inside linebackers coach Ken Wilson has taken over from Jay Norvell as head coach in Nevada. So he is heading over to the Mountain West Conference. This is his first head coach position as well. So another first time, no, not even a coordinator, just a positional coach. He spent 19 seasons before going to Oregon with the Wolfpack as an assistant coach. So he has a lot of familiarity with the program there. However, he does have a few problems to try and sort out right away. A situation at quarterback. Carson Strong is heading towards the draft, and Norvell has poached his backup to take with him to Colorado State, which is where he is now coaching. And they finished third last year in the Mountain West, so they have room to make up on the teams above them. This seems, I don't really know too much about this guy, to be fair, but it seems a bit of a punt here, maybe from Nevada, hoping they've landed on a good guy. Obviously, he's very, very associated with the franchise, and that which might be why they've gone this route. What do you make of this hire for Nevada?
Not knowing about the guy, I don't like this because, as you say, they've gone with the heart and not gone with the head, because they've gone with a guy they know, that feels comfortable, knows the program, but they're going with a guy that does not have that much experience. As you mentioned, he's been assistant for a lot of his coaching career, and Nevada are a win now team. As you said, they're losing Romeo Dubes, they've losing Carson Strong, they're also losing their star tight end Cole Turner. That is a lot of production that you've lost. That is 3 key bodies that you need to replace. They're coming off of a strong back-to-back seasons now. They've been well in the Mountain West Conference title race each year. There's going to be instant pressure on him. I know they'll say maybe because he's like a lifelong friend that maybe he'll get extra time there, but this is a results business. If he comes out there this year and goes, say 5-7, you think they're going to be okay with that, even though they've lost talent? Because I don't think they will be. The Wolfpack now are a reputation for a strong winning season, and he's going to have to try and maybe pull a miracle out this year. Otherwise, people are going to be like, well, maybe we made the wrong decision. Maybe we should have gone with someone a bit more established. So this is going to be really difficult for him to win over those people that know him so well, separating the business for how much they like him.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot there, and like I say, he's got a quarterback situation to sort out. He's got a couple of teams above him to contend with. Speaking of, that keeps us in the Mountain West Conference, and it keeps us one of the 2 teams who are above them or did finish above them this year. Fresno State, obviously, they lost their coach to, I believe it was Washington, if I'm remembering rightly, and in his stead, they have rehired Jeff Tedford. Now, he was head coach there just a few years ago, but he had to give up the job due to ill health. But thankfully, whatever those issues were, he seems to have recovered from, and they've given him the job back. He led the Bulldogs to 10 win seasons in 2017 and 2018. So, it just remains to be seen if he can pick up where he left off. But from one move in the MWC that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to one that probably makes a lot more sense. This guy wasn't forced out because of anything bad he did. It was because of his health. And it seems right that they give him a chance to pick up where he left off.
It sounds perfect, doesn't it? It's like going back to that girlfriend that you broke up with, but you're still on good terms with. You can still be friends with, so it might work again in the relationship. So they'll be just fine. And Jake Hayner returned. He followed Kirk DeBoer to Washington, but then he decided to withdraw his name from the transfer portal. So he's staying at Fresno State for his final year. So I don't think there's out to worry about there. They're losing Jalen Cropper, I believe, but they can find more receivers. They've got a head coach that they know that's had success, and they've still got their quarterback. So I don't expect anything to happen. They should just carry on ticking along nicely.
Indeed, agree completely. And finishing off the list of head coaches, I think we've caught up on everything from, I think the last one we did was Oregon and when they changed theirs. And this is another coordinator who's going up to head coach position, but he has been there before. Memphis defensive coordinator Mike McIntyre is heading to the CUSA East to be head coach of Florida International. He has, as I said, previously been a head coach. He was at San Jose State and Colorado, but he has just 2 seasons out of 9 with a record better than .500. And his Memphis defense this year finished 96th out of 130 teams in the FBS. They averaged over 418 yards per game against them and gave up 44 touchdowns in just 11 games. This one seems like a bit of a dodgy one. This is a guy who's not got the best of records, and you've seen San Jose State can be a decent side. They're not just a team who plump out, losing seasons all the time. These can win conferences. He's not got the greatest record here, and his defense last year was pretty bad. Florida International, maybe a bit of a dodgy hire here.
Well, his record precedes him, doesn't it? He's not really got. We say his experience has been a head coach before, but the numbers really don't do him any justice. They're painful to hear. Let's hope he's able to leave those things behind and just leave Memphis with a crappy defense next year. But I know that FIU are going through a transition period. One of their star wide receiver, who he's about to narrow it down and make his choice, Tyrese Chambers, left. He entered the portal. So things there aren't rosy. Like, he was one of the best wide receivers in the nation this year, so he felt like he needed a change of scenery. So there's some changes there. Now, Memphis, maybe he's going to be able to take some players with him because, as you mentioned, bad defense, fantastic offense. If he's able to just coax one guy to come with him, that would be a huge dub to them. So let's see if he's able to prove us doubters wrong, because on paper, it sounds like a guy that is a bit of a journeyman that's kind of underwhelmed everywhere he's been. So let's hope he's able to buck the trend there.
Yeah, agreed. Hopefully he's able to get his career going in a better direction, get a few more winning seasons under his belt, but he's got a lot to do there to start with. Chrome is in the chat. What up though there? Thanks for joining us. We really do appreciate you joining these shows. One Pride 40 is still in with us, and don't worry, One Pride, I have looked at your comments from earlier. We're going to be talking about the transfer portal and whatnot shortly, so I will come back to those comments you've been putting in chat. So that's everything in relation to the head coaches. Just in terms of a final bit of news for this week, and One Pride 40 has referenced this in the chat already. Josiah Anderson, she put out a tweet earlier today which said that she has heard from a league source that if the Detroit Lions were to wrap up the #1 pick in the 2022 NFL draft, that they are looking at Kayvon Thibodeau and no one else. Now, obviously, we're, nearly 5 months away from the draft at this point. There is an incredibly long way to go. But, I mean, Ryan, I'm interested to get your thoughts on this one initially. What what are you thinking at this point in time? League sources, they're so vague as to what they said, but do you believe there is any truth in this, or do you think, this is just someone looking for a little bit of early draft clickbait to get us going to start draft season off?
Bollocks. Which source is it? Which source is it? Is it red or brown? There's not a single person in the Lions organisation that would have hinted anywhere towards that. Brad Holmes will keep his cards to the chest, and Dan Campbell says that it is. So don't know who Designer Anderson is, but there's absolutely no truth in this. And I'm pretty sure he's already come out and rubbish it as well. I'm pretty sure DC's already said today that it's not true. And that was literally an hour or two after it was tweeted. So try a bit harder next time if you're going to try stir up some pot or kick the bee's nest, because stuff like that can be pretty much found out very quickly. So it won't bother me if they picked him first, but it's obviously not something. No one decides on their first round pick before you even see a bowl game or the Senior Bowl or a combine. Like I can't think of any team realistically that has decided on their number one pick in like December, because so many things could change. Like, God forbid, touchdown, he could get hurt tomorrow, could break his leg.
Yeah,
Like I say, it could retire from football. Like, people talk rubbish. It got a lot of clicks, it got a lot of likes, it did its purpose, but there's no source, is there?
No, like you say, it's either red or brown. There's no sources that have gone up to her and said the Lions and done this. There's going to be a lot of this, isn't there? And I think this year in particular, there's no outstanding number one candidate. I think you could make a case that maybe Jacksonville had chosen their first round pick this time last year, except like you say, maybe barring injury and that, but because there's not an overwhelming favorite for number one this year, I think you're going to get a little this smoke and mirrors. The Lions are going to take this and that. And to be honest, if Brad Holmes is smart, he's probably, pulling the puppet strings behind this, trying to keep teams guessing, hopefully get someone to sucker someone in and trade for that number one spot, which would be the absolute dream scenario. But I do feel it maybe was part of a thing to wind up Michigan fans as well, because obviously a lot of Michigan fans want Aiden, put it out there that the Lions are going to get Kayvon. You're going to, like you say, stir the honey pot up a little, get the bees a little bit angry there. But yeah, it's far too early to be speculating who the Lions going first. But she's tried. Fair play to her. We'll see what goes on with that there. So that's really everything as far as the news goes this week. Now we're going to drop down into recruiting land. So at this point in time, there's two things we're going to focus on today. We're going to take a look at the transfer portal, see where current college players are going to, where some have landed. There've been some really interesting moves this week. And then we're going to take a look at the recruitment classes, because there was a shocker of a move right at the top today, and there's been lots of others. There's still guys who are committing right now at this moment in time. So obviously the Americans are 5 hours behind us. So there's still a lot of decisions to be made that could affect these teams going forward. So we're going to take a little look in the transfer portal watch first. Now, I've got a few down here. I know Ryan's really been digging down into this, so he'll probably have a lot more as well. But some of the bigger moves that have stood out to myself here in the last week, obviously the really big one that broke, Spencer Rattler, presumed number one draft pick before this season begun. Everyone thought by this time he'd be packing his bags, getting ready to go to the draft, ready to receive his number one pick to whoever was picking there. Well, he's going back to college again. We told you he was in the portal, but his destination, I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming. He is transferring over to the SEC, and he is joining the South Carolina Gamecocks. You might know them from this pod because we were talking about them with the whole Zeb Nolan situation earlier this season. They were playing one of their assistant coaches at quarterback. Well, hell, they've got themselves quite a coup there now. Spencer Rattler is transferring over, and he's not alone from the Oklahoma Sooners. He's taking Austin Stogner, the tight end, there with him. I mean, what a double coup for South Carolina. This is obviously the SEC is an incredibly tough division, and they've laid down a statement there, and this is possibly big redemption territory for Spencer Rattler. He's going to be facing some big teams and some good defenses. If he's going to boost his draft stock, he's risking a lot, but if he's going to boost it back, this was the way to go about it.
Yeah, not many people saw this coming, because when he looked at where he was taking visits, and there was talks like say that he'd want to go back to where he came from. It all started with Arizona State because he's an Arizona kid, but they ruled him out quickly. Jane Daniels returned, and then there was likes of names floating about Ole Miss, UCLA. There was a lot of people in the works that probably were never credentialed. They were probably never real. I don't think he took many unofficial or even official visits. I think he's just been biding his time. He's been seeing how the rest of everything's been playing out as well. I've noticed he's probably been sat back looking who goes where, thinking like, well, holes are filling up. If you jump too quickly in the portal and you make a bad decision, you're only going to be entering your name back again if you go too quickly. So he's left it a week or two, which was probably a smart decision. Austin Stogner, I'm not sure if he's been waiting all this time to see where he goes, because I thought there was a point where maybe there was talks that he could return to Oklahoma. The head coach could convince him to stay. It's probably not just a coincidence that it's followed him to the Gamecocks. They've probably got some sort of friendship or rapport, reputation between them, some sort of relationship. But but one of the teams in the SEC that doesn't always recruit the best, like it's two huge pickups. Like they had no end of quarterback troubles last year, injuries. Now they're picking up a good quarterback. I think it's fair to still call Rattler a good quarterback and one of the better tight ends in the nation. Now, if they're able to rekindle or spark some sort of form together and go at it, to hammer and tong for a whole year, who knows? Maybe they could cause a few upsets in the SEC. Maybe there could be some surprises there. I think he's gone to the right destination, Rattler, to go somewhere to keep his head down. Let's keep himself out of trouble, keep his mouth shut, and just get on with it and play some football and hopefully try to elevate some of the guys around him. And those two can draw recruits maybe on their own just for this year. I think some players are going to sign there between now and February. I can see some guys wanting to play with those two guys. And Shane Beamer, the head coach, well, he must be delighted. Apparently, he's a really likable guy. Coaches and players like him alike. So it's surprising, but it's also not surprising that he's gone to somewhere where maybe he can just keep a low profile, which I think this is a good destination for him. He might be able to salvage something from this.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a high risk, high reward move for him. If he goes there and he performs really well, he gets some good offensive weapons around him, then his stock will go right back up, especially not being at the biggest team in the SEC. If they can get a good record going, he does fine. But adversely, if the offense around him isn't as good and his attitude rubs the wrong way, then it could really tank his draft stock as well. So it's going to be really, really intriguing to see how he gets on there. But, you know, as you say, fair play to him for making this decision. He could have tried to go for somewhere a lot cushier with a lot better offense, etc. But he's taken the hard road. So we'll see how it works out there for him. Switching focus to the Big Ten now, and Big Ten running defenses next season just put their ears up and were put on notice because Minnesota have landed a big transfer, and that is former TCU running back Zach Evans, the 5-star recruit. Last season, in just 6 games, he had 778 all-purpose yards and 6 touchdowns before whatever happened there with him falling out with his head coach. But I mean, Minnesota, they're known for their running backs. They've had atrocious luck with injuries and that this year, but this isn't a half bad way to replenish your room with one of the best running backs going. And there are going to be a lot of defensive coordinators in the Big Ten now who are worried with this one.
Yeah, the relationship at TCU just went wrong, unfortunately. This was Zach Evans. He nearly got a perfect 1, which is a 5-star, the highest ever Horned Frogs recruit in the history of their program. They were lucky to even have him. In limited work, he has something like a 7.7. I thought that's something like his year average carry yards, and he's played such limited football there. So they've given him such few snaps, but when they did, he was an absolute beast. Now, Mohamed Ibrahim, I've not seen too much about what he's doing, if he's going to return, which he could do after that serious injury. So I believe this is a fantastic pickup. PJ Fleck must be so happy that the fact he must be rubbing his hands. He's just got another that big extension, like Tanner Morgan. probably may stick around for another year. So to get a big name running outlet that's able to dominate games and put games on his back, you can easily get 150, 200 yards on the right day out of Zach Evans if his head's in the game. Now, that is the battle with him. If he's interested. Now, is he a diva? Does he cause problems? I saw at one point he deleted everything off his Instagram. Like he was going to just leave TCU. Then he added it all back. Like, bit of mind games. I think he was always going to enter the transfer portal, but keeping him on side seems difficult and keeping him motivated. But if he's somewhere he wants to be, then you've got to put him as maybe a Heisman watch player, because over 12, 13 games, if you keep him healthy and give him touches, he's going to put up phenomenal numbers. Minnesota were this close to making the title game this year. Like, you could probably half that now. They've got a real big, because Wisconsin have got Allen, Braylon Allen. Now they can fight fire with fire. They've got Zach Evans. This guy was probably the top 3 running backs in the whole portal, with the likes of Jahmyr Gibbs. So it's a big pickup for the Golden Gophers, and I like him. I can't wait to watch him.
Yeah, like you say, especially if Mohamed Ibrahim decides to go back there as well. I know their second string guy who was performing really well was injured. He'll be back as well. They've got 2 freshmen who came in and did well as well. So they could have one of the most stacked running back rooms in the Big Ten. I know certainly teams are having a lot of luck there. I know Penn State, they've picked up a 4-star running back today as well. So I believe that's 2 of them they've got in their backfield, and they needed a running game as well. So yeah, Big Ten place to be for running back rooms. There's some good ones really go in there. Moving on to the Pac-12, there are a couple of quarterbacks arriving in there. Well, one is very much presuming to arrive there. The other has. So the first one, we're heading to Washington, and one that Ryan probably won't be worried about very much. Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback from the Indiana Hoosiers, he has made the move to Washington. He only played 5 games last year. He went 87 for 162 incompletions, which is only 53.7%, 939 yards, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Now, this Washington offense was really, really bad last year. They fired their offensive coordinator because they only passed 20 points, I believe, once in about their first 7 games. So Penix, he's not coming into the best situation there, and he doesn't seem like the guy who's going to instantly revitalize them and give them an added advantage over some of those teams in the Pac-12.
No chance. One of the Power Five's worst offenses has just taken a quarterback that's made out of sticks, PVA glue, and papier-mâché. He was always being hurt. If you look over his last few years, he has battled numerous injuries and can't stay healthy. The numbers when he's healthy aren't great. He was blessed to have Walt Phillier, Ty Freifogel, and Payne Hendershot at one point, and Indiana still weren't able to do anything. Even when they stacked him with talent, they still fell short when it came to it. And now he's coming to a team that lacks offensive talent, really, like they're going to struggle. This seems like a really rough plan B. Jake Hayner bailed on them. He was set to follow DeBoer, but decided against it. So it feels like they've had to dip back into the portal. But I don't know why. They've got Sam Heward, a 5-star quarterback who was believed to be one of the best in his class, and he's just sat there now. And if Penix Jr. wins that job, I really worry for their future. They could regress even worse than last year, and they were bad. I do not like this move at all. How Penix Jr.'s got this job, fair play to him to somehow convince them to give him an offer. He's done pretty well there. He must have held them to ransom or something.
Yeah, I'd agree there probably. I mean, there's a lot of new coaches coming into the Pac-12. There's a lot of new quarterbacks, so high-level guys coming in. It's going to be a tough division next year. I mean, you saw, it was close this year in some parts. Some really good teams knock him round. And, he's going to need to come in and make a splash if they want to get anywhere near the top of that. And they have a lot of rebuilding to do after last year. It was not pretty. They're losing more guys to the draft on that defense, so they're going to need to refire there again as well. So, interesting one in terms of Pac-12 and its quarterbacks, but another one that maybe might cause yourself a little bit more worry there. It's not confirmed yet, although it just about is. I've not seen it fully confirmed, but he's crystal balled and everything. He's been spotted there today. And this is UCLA, and they look like they're getting UCF quarterback Dylan Gabriel, who spent a little bit of time out this season injured. So he missed the final half of the season for UCF, but on his day, he's a really good quarterback. And with that offense that UCLA have got, this has the potential to be a much more happier marriage made in heaven for these two.
Yeah, he's got 6 crystal balls now, so he's totally 100%. So, and these are like editors and national recruiters. He's going to UCLA. It seems like it's a done deal. And following up from DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson, they're getting another good dual threat quarterback. Dylan Gabriel is not a big guy. He's only like 6 foot, but he's got good footwork. He's got a huge arm when he needs to be. He has been in some explosive UCF offenses, and I think this is a really good hire. I'm pretty sure his balls flipped. He was at Ole Miss first. A lot thought he might go to under Lane Kiffin, but it appears that he wants some better weather. Wants a bit keep up his nice tan. So it don't surprise me. But UCLA, like Zach Charbonnet, they had a good offense last year. They struggled on defense. That's where their issues is. But I really like the kid. I think this guy, wherever he goes, could be one of the better quarterbacks in the nation next year. He's been really good to date, despite say that broken collarbone that really set back UCF season in general. They finished 6-6, and that's because they lost him. They could go 8-4, 9-3 easily with him. He's been a game changer for them for a couple of years now. So I don't like him in the Pac-12 whatsoever, because they're a good balanced offense now.
Yeah, exactly. That's speaking from a selfish point of view. Obviously, for yourself, if you want the other quarterbacks to be on the other side of the ball, to be bad compared to your teams. But yeah, I think he's found himself a good home there, and he is going to thrive in UCLA once again, at least on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to be very dangerous this season. We're talking about quarterbacks, talking about Ole Miss. The quarterbacks we've mentioned so far, they've been sort of FBS moving to FBS, but there's one guy. We're talking about a quarterback from the FCS here who looks like he's going to be getting his big break moving up to the FBS. You mentioned the side earlier. We're talking about Incarnate Word quarterback Cameron Ward. He is receiving significant interest from the FBS. Saw the other day that Ole Miss were taking a look at him, in light of Dylan Gabriel no longer wanted to go there. And since then, he's had offers from Virginia Tech to replace Braxton Burmeister. He's had an offer from Indiana to replace Penix Jr., Houston, North Texas, and Western Kentucky, who are obviously going to be losing Bailey Zappa this year to the draft. In 11 games last year, he had a 61% completion rating, maybe not the best in the world, but pretty solid. He threw for 11 games total, for Incarnate Ward. His completion rating 61%. He's thrown for 3,900 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. This is a guy who's been garnering a lot of interest, and there are some really good offers on the table for him there. This is a guy who's worked very hard at FCS level, and it looks like he's about to get his big break in the FBS and cause some stir for his own potential draft stock.
Yep, he's also, I don't know if it's been announced yet, but he made the final of the 2021 Walton Pater Award this year. That is for the best, I believe, FCS player in the nation. So he's been nationally recognised as one of the best guys. Oh, I hope he picks Ole Miss. I've seen his tape. I've watched like 1 or 2 of his games. He looks phenomenal. He's not the biggest, he ain't the strongest, but accuracy's there. He's got the deep ball. He's got the pretty short throws. The kid can do it all. And just look at the offers he's got. Like, he is taking a huge step up. He's going to jump right up into the FBS. If he takes even like Virginia Tech, that's a big job right there. There's a chance he could beat out Braxton Burmeister. He could really compete for starting job there. Lane Kiffin, I believe, likes the kid. They made him an offer really quickly. He's had this offer now a few days, but he's got a lot to consider. He needs to find out where the best job is him. You don't want something too big. You don't want to be in the portal again. But I think the Rebels could get a really good dynamic guy here if they're able to tie him down. I imagine they've probably taken him to dinner. He's probably been to see the facilities. So to go to Ole Miss would be such a privilege, and it would be a great stopgap for potentially bringing in Archie Manning because he's still a young guy, this guy, but he's got a very big decision to make. He's got a lot of offers to weigh up. He needs to pick the right place for him so he doesn't look like he's out of his depth. But I like this guy. This kid's come out of nowhere in like last maybe 7 to 9 days in transfer portal talk, and he's going to get himself a big gig. And a lot of guys out there don't know who he is. If you don't know who he is, then just go take a look because he's been one of the best quarterbacks outside of the FBS this year.
Yeah, and it's really good to see these guys who are performing well down at FCS level, especially like him, get these big offers here. Like you say, this could absolutely make his career. If he goes to Ole Miss, he's got Lane Kiffin there. Maybe he is only a stopgap for Archie Manning, but still, it's a huge, huge place to go and play your football, and it's going to do no end for his chances going forward as well. But like you say, he's probably going to have to make a decision quick because just talking about the transfer portal in general now with the quarterbacks, there are so many quarterbacks in the portal this year. It feels like there's more quarterbacks in the portal than there are teams who have a stable quarterback situation. I mean, guys who've still not found homes yet. You've got Keaton Slovis, he's not found a home. Bo Nix, who shouldn't find a home, but he probably will. Adrian Martinez is in there. Max Johnson, the LSU starting quarterback. I mean, how often does a starting LSU quarterback hit the portal because he's not happy for whatever reason? I've seen some chatter. I believe him going down to one of the
A&M.
Texas A&M. Yeah, A&M have just signed his brother, who's a tight end, I believe, which has led to rampant rumors that he might be going down there and Zach Calzada going in the opposite direction to LSU, which would be something. But I mean, yeah, this seems to be a lot of big time quarterbacks out there this year, and a lot of them still don't seem close to finding a home. It's a crazy portal this year, isn't it? Quite frankly,
it's not a good portal to enter. There's a lot of these guys here that didn't need to enter the portal. I guarantee at least half of these guys withdraw their name. Keaton Slovis won't because he's got no place in USC anymore. He had that great freshman year, sophomore and junior. He's been absolutely arse. He sucks. His days in Pac-12 are probably over. The transfer portal is like one big game of musical chairs. If you wait too long when the music stops, there will not be a chair for you to sit on, and you'll probably end up in the FCS. Like, there's guys here that could realistically not have an FBS offer or get an FBS job this year because they wait too long. If you wait one day too long, all the best jobs could be taken. As you mentioned, Jake Johnson, I think he's a 5-star tight end, has gone to A&M today. So you can expect Max Johnson, his brother, to probably sign tomorrow. I think that one will be no doubt that's going to happen. Who wouldn't want to go play with their star brother? Zach Calzada, that's an interesting one because in relief of Haynes King this year, he looked okay, didn't he? He didn't do too bad for a guy that was never expecting to start. So he's probably had a good year. LSU, that'd be a big gig for him, like I said, because he gets a new head coach, but he also gets the pressure. There's a weird pressure about being an LSU quarterback, and the fans don't give much patience. It's a rough ride down there in Baton Rouge. You got to have a big set of cojones to be the LSU starting quarterback because they're on a skid after winning that championship. So, but there's a lot of guys. So it's, who knows, the next few days are going to be crazy. Indiana, that's probably not the most attractive job because you have to play the rest of the Big Ten. And like, no one wants to play the Big Ten right now because it's stacked. Like, the defenses are mean. So I'm hoping they can find a really good quarterback. But the biggest job still on the table has got to be, and by a mile, it's Ole Miss. They are weighing up their options. Lane Kiffin is not going to rush into anything. He will find the perfect guy he wants. And he knows there's people there that will wait till he decides yes or no. So they'll get whoever they want. And the rest will then just, the chips will fall as they may once he makes a decision, like a domino effect.
Well, I know the really interesting one I've been looking at, and it's another Ohio State quarterback as well. It's Jack Miller, I believe. He's the 5-star, another 5-star guy from there. Obviously, Quinn Ewers has gone back to Texas to be with his Longhorns, but Jack Miller's entered the portal as well. Now, I know You like you said, Indiana, if he wants to stay in the Big Ten, Nebraska, Scott Frost has said he wants a quarterback from the portal. So there are job opportunities there for him. But I mean, this is another guy who's incredibly highly rated. I mean, could he end up getting the Ole Miss job or the LSU one? I feel like that's a potential landing destination for him if they want to take, a punt on his potential.
Yeah, he's all potential because from what I know, there's no film on him. I don't. Did he take any snaps at OSU this year? Maybe he took the odd, but there's nothing to go off. All you can do is look at what he did in high school. That 5-star rating for a second-year quarterback don't mean anything. All the hype's gone because he didn't do anything as a freshman. So he will probably look back at that and think, I made the wrong decision in the first place. Probably shouldn't have gone to Ohio State. Freshmen that enter the portal usually are willing to admit that they got caught up in it. He went to a stacked quarterback room. Like it was not a good overall place for him. But now I've no idea where he goes. I haven't seen any rumors. I haven't even seen anyone talking about the kid. He could really be one of the odd ones out because he's not got any tape really from last year to go off of. And you don't want to be going much further back than that. You don't want to be looking at a second-year quarterback and like, well, what's he got to offer? Well, he did this in high school. That don't mean anything now. He's not in high school, is it? So he's going to find it really, really hard to find somewhere that's willing to give him a starting gig. He's probably going to wind up being a backup again.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, CJ, a lot was made about Ohio State's quarterback room this year. I think they had like 3 5-star guys in there. Well, they did, and then Ewers arrived as well, and now 2 of them have left. But I think, CJ Stroud's probably locked that job up for the foreseeable now. So all the other quarterbacks are going, yeah, we're not getting this starting gig. We need to go elsewhere, and we need to go there really quick. But I mean, it's not even just quarterback where players go, there's just players all over the show. You look at your defensive back, you look at the likes of Eli Ricks, he's still looking for a place to go, 5-star corners. There's guys all over the show looking for homes. Is there any other moves you've seen in the transfer portal so far that have come to your attention? Because, as much as moves have been done, there's still a lot of guys out there looking for homes, a lot of high-level guys who haven't found anywhere to go yet.
Nope. We'll talk about the first name. I believe now Tank Bigsby is not going to enter the portal. There was a lot of talk saying that once Bo Nix left, he wanted to move on, but he's not entered his name in officially, and a lot think now that he's going to stay put. So the biggest running back was potentially on the market is off again, which I find interesting that he's staying put. Now there's a commit here that I'd like to mention. This is a kid called Darren Agu. He was born in Ireland, but raised in London. He played for the London Blitz as a youth. He's a 6'6", 3-star edge. He was a former Notre Dame commit, but today he committed to Vanderbilt. So, congratulations, Darren, for landing in the SEC. He's huge. He's 215, 6'6", the young man. Defensive end. He's going to play edge. He's had a host of 5-star offers, but it's good to see some British kids getting in like high-level offers. He had a string of offers. So London Blitz, London Warriors, they keep producing more collegiate athletes. It's great to see for the British game. So I'd like to give a shout out to him. I'm waiting on Tyrese Chambers, I mentioned earlier, the FIU star wide receiver. He has narrowed down his commitment to 5 teams. That is Mississippi State, Arizona State, Maryland, Purdue, and Nebraska. He's going to make a decision very soon. Now he's from Florida, but he had Florida State in his top 8 or 9, but he ditched them. Maybe when he saw maybe Narvell might be staying. So he's due to make a commitment soon. He's one of the best potential guys left at wide receiver, just coming off like a 1,200-yard year. Bit mixed bag there. There's some good schools on the list. So who knows which one he's going to pick. But it's going to be hard for my Arizona State to compete there with the likes of Mississippi State and Purdue. There's some Big Ten and SEC teams, but I'm keeping eyes on when he makes his commitment too.
He's going to be looking at his quarterbacks as well, I guess, for that one, isn't it? He's going to want a good quarterback to be throwing at him. And I suppose yours is down on the list of those 5 teams.
Yeah, Drew Aller, the 5-star quarterback at Penn State. I believe he signed officially today. He was a recruit that's committed. He's also got his NIL deal. So players are now getting paid Don't forget that. Look at Quinn Ewers. The money you can make will also determine where you go. He always wanted to play in Texas, but he knew going to Ohio State, he'd get a huge 1.5 million deal. He took the money and he ran. I have got to give the kid played the system. People are hating on him, but he played it perfectly, didn't he? He got cash money, got his deal with a big name school, transferred. He's gone back home to where he wanted to be all along, and now gets to play in Texas. So, like I say, you're going to see a lot of that now. You'll see freshmen that are going to go to school, get an IL deal, and they will enter the portal straight away within the first year because they want to play in a certain state where they can't earn all the money. But then you'll see NIL teams that will put in clauses in contracts where if you transfer or if you put the enter portal, you might have to pay some of it back. They're not going to be stupid. They're not going to give you money knowing you won't stay at the team you tell them at. So that's something to definitely watch. As I mentioned, say Max Johnson, there's a lot of high profile guys. I think Jameer Gibbs, I'm seeing him crystal ball to Alabama, the 4 or 5-star Georgia Tech running back.
He's yet to make unfair. That would be complete. Yeah. Is Brian Robinson staying this year? I've seen he might enter the draft, but if he stays and they put him with him, that's entirely an unfair backfield with the amount of talent they've got there.
I think anyone going there as running back will probably depend if he stays. If he declares for the draft, sure go, because he, like Jameer Gibbs, could probably be their starting back. He ain't going to play backup though. He won't play second fiddle. So if Brian Robinson stays there, don't expect him to land there. But it's been a crazy day, and there's so many more recruits as well. What's his name? Marvin Jones Jr. Like he's looking like he could be Georgia bound. The 5-star edge that's got a lot of ties to Florida State as well. So the portal just keeps on churning. Like say, players yet to commit.
I tell you, one of the moves I loved that I saw earlier was done by Arkansas. Now, obviously, they are losing Treylon Burks to the draft this year, and he's going to be an insanely good receiver in the NFL, hopefully for the Detroit Lions. But they managed to get a pretty decent replacement for him. They got Jaden Hazelwood, the Sooners receiver there, and I believe, if I remember rightly, he is the highest rated recruit to ever sign for Arkansas. I think that's a hell of a move from them. They've replaced one really good receiver with possibly an even better one when they could quite easily have had to drop down in quality. But I don't know about you, but I love that move. I think that's really good.
See, I'm conflicted because how good Hazelwood is, I've heard he's not got the best attitude and he's severely underwhelmed. Like his time in Oklahoma, the numbers just aren't there. He's not put the numbers up. Maybe that because he needed to change of scenery, but he's going to have to win me over. Speaking of wide receivers today, UCLA got a 3-star big pickup. Jake Bobo left Duke. Duke's last weapon is now gone for their new head coach, unfortunately. But he's a good pickup for the Bruins, who could land a quarterback as well. So there's some really good stuff going on there. Like there's been some really good moves. Also, what's my brain? Our running back, Arizona State, we had the 4-star freshman, Chip Trainum. He's still yet to decide what he's going to do. If he's still in the portal, but he could be a really good running back for someone to pick up. He's a big, tall guy that runs well. We're still trying to convince him to stay, but he's going to be a name to watch that could get a decent Power 5 job as well. So there's a lot of running backs on the market.
Yeah, I know. I did mention this to you. I know USC, they just let a 4-star guy go, Keenan Kristen. I'm thinking, now that Rashad White's obviously gone from yours, he's a good guy. Would he be one you'd like to see in Arizona next year instead? Their loss is your gain.
Oh, I'd take him, yeah, because right now we've only got Daniel Nagata, and he was a freshman last year. So we've got to bring in, we've signed like 3 big, like 6'9" tight ends, and they're all like 3 stars. So for some reason we're stacking up with tight ends, and we've just got one of the best kickers. I think like the number 1 kicker in the 2022 recruit, Carter Brown. So Arizona State's not had a bad day, but maybe we're going to try to throw the ball next year, all these tight ends. So, but we still need a running back.
As you never know, there's still the possibility that you might go after a quarterback as well. There's still enough of them, at least to come in and provide a little bit of competition there.
Yeah.
Are there any other names from the transfer portal before we move on to the recruiting classes, or is that sort of it for now for bits that have piqued your interest?
That's it right now. Like I say, it's probably going to heat up now. Now all the kids have signed. I don't think you're going to get much happening. I think now, yeah, if you want to sign now, I think you have to wait till February, the official signing period. So that should quieten down now the recruitment classes. So the portal will heat up again now because all the spare holes are there.
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, that's everything that we've sort of seen that's going on regards to the transfer portal. Now, as we've mentioned today is like the early signing period for guys coming out of high school who are going to start committing to their franchises moving forward. And when they come out of high school, these guys are ranked. So you've got like a top 100 and top 200, and you can get these guys to commit. And head coaches at college level, they can live or die by some of these draft classes. The amount of 5-star, 4-star, 3-star recruits you're able to get, how high they are on the rankings list, they all have a big effect on you and your job going forward. And a piece of news broke today which was huge in regards to this, because the number one player coming out in 2022, he's a guy by the name of Travis Hunter. Now, like with a lot of guys coming out of high school, he's not nailed down on a position yet, but at the minute he's a sort of a cornerback slash wide receiver hybrid who's still finding his position, but he's an insanely talented player, and he is the number one guy in this comic class, and he has been committed to Ashley's own Florida State University for a very long time. Everyone assumed this is where he was going. There's been a lot of interest from some big sides, including Georgia, who've tried like hell to pry him away there and get him to flip his allegiance over. But it got to this morning, everything was still in place. He was going to be in FSU by the end of the day. But at the very last second, he got flipped. Did he get flipped by Georgia? No. Alabama? No. Ohio State? No. He got flipped by an FCS team. He's actually dropped out of the FBS, and this is the most talented player, via analysis, in the entire country in this upcoming recruiting class. And he's ended up going to Jackson State, who are currently led by legendary NFL defensive back Deion Sanders, which may go some way to explaining why he's gone there. I believe they've been fueled by money from Barstool and their owner, Dave Portnoy, which has made this possible. But I mean, this is a huge flip right at the very last second here. You don't get number one guys in classes flipping from the FBS, certainly to the FCS, maybe other teams in the FBS big ones, but not this. This is an absolutely huge move, and one that I don't think anybody saw coming.
No, Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks in 2019, they went 4-8. So if you go back as far as 2.5 years ago, no one knew about them. No one cared about them. Deion Sanders comes in and takes them to an 11-1 year, and they're now bowl eligible in a celebration bowl game. Like what he's done in the last 18 months. Now, don't get me wrong, Deion Sanders has got star factor. He is one of the greatest defensive backs to ever play the game, one of the best special teamers, maybe of all time. Can challenge Devin Hester for that. Like he is one of the most notable names in football. But that's not enough to turn around a football team. You can't just be a celebrity. I believe I think his son plays on the team. Now, I'm pretty sure some of his kids do. So he has got like influence on and off the field. Right now, he has turned that program around. Now, they're a HBCU football program, which means that stands for an historically black college university football. Predominantly always been like that, not recruited heavily. Now, they've taken this kid that's been verbally committed to Florida State for months and months. It's not even a quick process. Right? Hunter knew that he wanted to go to Florida State like last year because it was just in his blood. So on the day he could have signed, to decide to change his mind, like had people whispering in his ear, like they must have pulled a rabbit out of a hat here, to go about it in such a short period of time to convince him to drop an entire level, like Division 1 to almost like Division 2 football, is either a great decision or a terrible decision. Now, this kid could either be a star or he'll be in the transfer portal within after like 5 games and like, I don't belong here. This is not good enough for me. Now, it will either go one or two ways like that. I don't see it going any different. Now, if speaking of Deion Sanders, this kid goes down as an ATH, an athlete, you know he's going to try and make him a defensive back. He's going to put as much influence as he can on him to play defense. He ain't going to want to play wide receiver. He's going to try and mold him and take him under his arm, take him under his wing. Mike Norvell literally got extended, 48 hours ago? And they could be losing all the recruits. Imagine if they don't get Marvin Jones Jr. Imagine now they've lost Tyrese Chambers, the wide receiver. They've lost Hunter. Right? What is going on there? Right? How, after such a bad year, it just rubs salt in the wound even more. Like there's Twitter spaces open up and people are bashing FSU. Like the fans are not happy how this was allowed to happen right under their noses at last second, to have his head turned by such a small outfit. Something is really going wrong down there in Tallahassee. Things have got to change and change quickly. Otherwise, Mike Norvell will be joining the end of the job centre queue and signing on every week, because this will not be stood for.
Oh dear, I'm really sorry, Ash. Ash has joined us in the chat about the exact same time we just mentioned this. I'm sorry, Ash. I thought you were at the cinema. You said you were, so I thought you were going to avoid hearing about this, but he just goes, you had to mention him. But of course we do. The number one recruit doesn't flip down to the FCS every day of the week. And, you know, that's an absolutely huge thing there. Ash says hashtag Norvell out. Well, sorry, Ash, but you've got until 2026 now, so good luck with that. Ken Stauder, you're in the chat this evening. Thanks very much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. As always, we're just going through sort of some of the recruiting classes this year at the moment. And, you know, One Pride 40, he's been in here with us a lot. I believe he's a Michigan State fan. And, you know, we'll focus on them a minute. They've had a relatively good draft class this year. They've done well in the transfer portal. I know they've got some good linebackers in this year. They were struggling for those. They managed to flip Chris Bogle from Florida, which is a big one for them. I believe he's a 4-star guy. They picked up a few other guys in there as well. But the big battle at the minute, which is expected to be, I think he might have declared by now. We were looking at Keonta Goodwin. He is the absolutely monster, 6'8", 340-pound, 5-star ranked offensive tackle who was originally committed to Kentucky before his recruitment went open again, and Michigan State are in there, and he was choosing between the two, I believe, at 8:30, which was over 20 minutes ago. I don't know whether he has committed or not, but I mean, if they could sort of land him to finish off this class, I mean, that would be absolutely huge for them. I mean, obviously they've had a really good year. Mel Tucker's done some really good things there, and he seems to be backing it up now with this draft class. I mean, for them to be picking up a huge 5-star guy like this, if they are able to, that sends out a big ass message to the rest of the Big Ten that Michigan State are potentially here to stay, and they're going to have a lot of talent in there.
Yeah, I'm just looking now. They're looking at the current national rank for recruiting classes at 46. Their Big Ten rank is 10th. Average rating is about 0.85. So they're averaging nearly every player so far is a 3-star or above, which is a good consistent. It's a healthy looking class. I see they've got a 4-star linebacker, Ma'a Gayatutia from Bishop Gorman, who are one of the top high schools in America. They're the biggest in Las Vegas by a mile. So that's a really nice recruit there. He's a 4-star, 226 too. So he was 20th at the position. So that's a really nice pickup there. If you go down the board, let's have a look who they've got the transfers. They've got an Alabama cornerback. They've got Ronald Williams, former 4-star, 6'2". And like I said, they've lost Shakur Brown. They've lost players to draft this year. So that's a nice pickup there. Malik Carr, former 4-star receiver from Purdue, he's a 0.92, so he's a very high recruit. He's a 6'4" wide receiver. As you mentioned, got Quavaris Crouch. Let's say immediate eligibility as well. Transfer linebacker from Tennessee. So they're getting a lot of guys here that can play straight away. And then they've stolen players like Itavion Brown from Minnesota, 6'4" linebacker. He will probably get eligibility fairly quickly as well. So there's some really good names here. Like I said, they've picked up some good transfers in the last year or so, including these ones now. So the class is looking better. And compared to like Michigan, I've not seen Michigan doing a right lot lately. I'd say they're definitely having the better class and commit so far this year. And Mel Tucker's finally showing that he can recruit, because if you can't recruit, you don't get contract extensions. But he's about to earn a big payday, so he's showing that he can also get guys in, and he can steal guys too from in the portal as well.
I've just seen Keonta Goodwin. He has pushed his conference back to 5 o'clock EST. That's 10 o'clock our time. So that's going to be another hour and 10 minutes. It seems that he's really agonizing over his decision as to whether he's going to go to Kentucky or Michigan State. But I mean, I've seen the size of him, 6'8", 340 pounds. He could literally eat Mekhi Becton as a snack. And Mekhi Becton is one of the biggest human beings going. I mean, God, I would not want to come up against him in college football. Let's put it that way. If I'm an edge rusher, I'm just like going, yeah, no, I'm staying on the sidelines today. But like I say, it's a huge, positive for Tucker that he's been able to get those guys in, or at least making him consider it. It'd probably be one of their biggest coups in some time if they're able to get there. In terms of other draft classes, well, recruiting classes, who do you like in terms of some of the stuff going on? I know Texas A&M, they're having an absolute steal of a recruiting class at the minute. They've got two of the guys in the top 10. They've got Walter Nolan, who's a 5-star defensive lineman. They got Evan Stewart, the 5-star wide receiver. I know that they're also in, I believe, for Shamar Stewart, who's another 5-star defensive lineman. And I think it is Harold Perkins, the linebacker, another 5-star guy there. I mean, A&M, they're really, really loading up on talent this year. And I think they got a 5-star corner today as well. I can't remember his name, but for me, they've had a great class. But is there anyone else who you've looked at and gone, my God, they've got a lot better today?
There's what's his name now? Georgia. They've got Dalen Everett today, a 5-star cornerback there. So they're reloading because they're about to lose the likes of Roderick. So players to draft. They've also got strong consideration from, I think he's called Shaz Murphy or Shaz Mumphrey, 4-star wide receiver. He's got many crystal balls going to them. Georgia just reloading again, having another good class from picking up 4 or 5 stars. I believe they've been ranked number 1 class so far. It's like 4 5 stars and like 14 4-stars they've got. Second is A&M as well. I think they've been ranked as the second best recruiting class so far currently. So those two are certainly leading the way. But Penn State, I like what Penn State are doing. They got their big running back today. They let me find his name. They've just picked up their new, hopefully, star lead back.
No, I mentioned earlier, they've got 2 4-star guys in their backfield now. And like you say, they've got the 5-star recruit at quarterback as well. I mean, their offense was all right last year, but it was middling. And I mean, these are guys who are potentially really going to fire it up. And if that defense can survive another defensive coordinator and play to the high level it does, I mean, Penn State could be looking at them real good, real quick.
I expect Penn State to have a big bounce back here. Sean Clifford announced yesterday or the day before that he's returning. So Sean Clifford will be back in as a knit in the line next year for 1 more year. But that does not mean he will start. Drew Allo could be real competition for him. They've finally got some good competition at quarterback. They've got 2 rotational good running backs. They've got a stout run defense. James Franklin has no excuses this year. It's got to be a bounce back year. It's got to be a Big Ten title consideration. They've got to make a real push at it, or I'm really going to start to doubt his long-term future there. Despite how much success he's had there now, this feels like a really important year. They've got a good receiver. They've got a good recruiting class. Not seen the pit many up in the portal, but they recruit well. So let's see what they can actually do with these young kids, because I expect a lot of them are going to see playing time.
Yeah, exactly. I think potentially the Big Ten's getting really competitive this year. There's been some good classes. I think Michigan have made some good I think they flipped a guy from Ohio State today. I think it was a four-star corner, if I'm remembering rightly. I can't remember the name of all these hundreds of guys coming up, but they're doing well. One Pride in the chat says Rutgers is doing surprisingly well as well. I must admit, I've not really taken a look at Rutgers' recruitment class, but I mean, any good recruitment class is good for them because I mean, they were some way behind everyone else in the Big Ten last year, to put it politely. Also, in regards to Keonta Goodwin, he said that he should go and play at MSU because he can play left tackle right away. Maybe a little bit of bias in that one there, but I do agree that it's an up and coming team, and if he wants to stand out, then he's not going to have the most amount of competition there. That offensive line does need help, and hell, he'd be the leader of it really damn quickly.
Rutgers are having a great class. National rank of 26, sixth in the Big Ten. They've got four-star players already, a running back, two linebackers, and interior linemen. So the Scarlet Knights hopefully can reload this year. It's looking like it could be well this year.
Yeah, potentially. They really needed that. So good for them if they've been able to get some good talent in there.
They're still going to be rubbish, though, aren't they?
I think for now, yes. I mean, Ohio State are going to be Ohio State. The two Michigan teams are doing really well. Penn State going to probably be up there pretty quick. Who knows with the middling lot in the West, Minnesota, all that job. Like, they're sort of all middling at the minute as well. So, you got a lot of good teams to get past first. It's going to be interesting to see if someone emerges from that. I think it's the West Conference of it, isn't it? Where they all finish quite close to one another. If someone's going to outright jump up there, but you'd figure Minnesota, especially with some of their additions, are going to be in the conversation for that for sure.
Speaking of Big Ten, it wouldn't surprise me if Elias Ricks ends up in the Big Ten. I know it's not that you probably don't want to go there. It's probably not the classiest, but I think his market doesn't seem that strong. Like Ohio State and LSU, they said they've got no scholarship for him. Like, sorry, Ballmer, we can't give you a place there. It would not surprise me to see him in the Big Ten as somewhere like Wisconsin or even Penn State or one of the Michigan sides, because the kid's running out of time. Like, there's a lot of schools getting fitted up. Defensive backs always have the highest recruits. Like, they always get the most to go off the board quickly. He's going to have to act quickly to find himself a home.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just having a look at other classes now. So the rankings so far for all the team classes. So Georgia, Alabama, and Texas A&M, they're in the top three for the recruiting classes this year. They've all graded over 300. I don't know exactly how the point system works out, but they've all supposedly had very good years. You've got Ohio State there. You've got Texas. Well, the Longhorns are going to be up there because Quinn Ewers by himself will have boosted that up hugely. Penn State 6th, Notre Dame 7th, North Carolina are 8th. I've not really looked who's gone down to North Carolina, but looking at it, they've got a lot of 5-star guys there this year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You've got 2 defensive linemen. You've got an offensive tackle, an edge, a wide receiver. In fact, no, you've got 3 5-star defensive linemen who have gone down to UNC. Marvin Austin, Travis Shaw, and Keyshawn Silver. And, that was one of their big issues last year. They gave up a lot of points and they weren't getting at quarterbacks. And it seems like, hell, they've gone after that for sure.
Yeah, they're going heavy on the trenches because they didn't get enough pressure, I think, after quarterback. So,
oh no, that's all-time commits. I've got that one wrong. They've got at least 2 in from this year, though. They've got a D lineman and an offensive tackle from this year.
Well, they certainly need an offensive lineman because that offensive line last year was so bad. So it's good to see them trying to address that position. But I don't know who the quarterback is there next year. So I'm sure North Carolina have to be in the poll for a quarterback, don't they? I haven't seen any quarterback linked with North Carolina, but is there anyone to take over the mantle from Sam Howell? Not that I'm aware of.
Quite possibly. I mean, there are a few teams in there as well. I guess Michigan could be in the going for someone if they're still not signed on Cade McNamara. I thought they got someone. Who is it? Oh, it's Alec Orji they've got in. He's a 3-star guy, but I don't know if he's going to supplant. I don't know if he's going to supplant McNamara at all, but seems to be a lot going on in the Big Ten in terms of these. Seem to be some good signings they've made in there.
Also, with Elias Ricks, it wouldn't surprise me if he takes his name out of the portal altogether. He might just return to LSU because the market for him doesn't seem too hot. He might just think, well, I need a good year. If he stays and has a good year and then wants to go into the portal, then his market will be a lot stronger.
Yeah, no, I agree. It just seemed odd that he's not picked up somewhere first, and there seem to have been attitude problems which have scared some of the bigger teams off. So I hope you'd think he'd be sorted out soon. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, is there anything else you want to add about the recruiting classes for now, or is that sort of about it for the time? Yeah. So I mean, obviously these are going to settle out over time. Probably next week we'll probably take a little bit of an in-depth look more at some of the better teams who've done well this year. But that's everything really for the transfer portal and the recruitment classes for now. So we're going to finish off today. I think that is just about everything everything that we want to go through. So we're now going to move on to the bowl pick watch. Now, obviously, there's a lot of bowl games at the end of the year. That's the only part of the season that's still to go now. All the teams, when they finish, if you're above 6 wins, you qualify to get in a bowl game. These bowl games are all sorted, and it's one last chance for a lot of players to shine before draft season, or potentially it's a chance for the already high draftees to drop out and not take part and completely screw you up as to wondering who's going to win these games. But we thought it would be interesting to take a look at the games and to pick some winners out of these and just see who comes out on top. I mean, a lot of them, it's going to be pure guessing or going with the money line or something like that. But still, there's a degree of skill to these, I suppose, that you could say. So the games start on the 17th, so it's just 2 days to go until these start, and they stretch all the way out into January. So we're going to break this down into 2 parts. We're just going to do the games that start on the 17th and work our way up to Christmas Day on the 25th, because there is a bowl game on Christmas Day. And then in a week, we'll probably fill this in and fill all the other games up that are going. But we're going to see who wins out of this one, just as a little thing going forward. So if you're ready, Ryan, I'll start off. On the 17th, so in a couple of days' time, we have the Bahamas Bowl. And I know you know a bit about the bowl game. So if there's anything interesting you want to point out about them while we're going through them, please do so. But the Bahamas Bowl is in 2 days on the 17th. That is Toledo taking on Middle Tennessee. Now, Toledo are 10.5 favorites for this one. Where's your money going on this one? You're going with the 11-point favorites, or do you see an upset there for Tennessee, perhaps?
No, I'm going to stick with the money line. I'm going to take Toledo here. They've had a reasonably good year in the MAC.
Yeah, I would probably have to agree. I mean, Middle Tennessee, home to one of my favorite players in Reed Blankenship going into the draft, but he is just one guy on a 50-man team, and I don't really think much is going to go on there. So I'm going to take Toledo as well in that one. And then the second bowl game on the 17th, we've got the Cure Bowl, and that is taking place between Coastal Carolina and Northern Illinois, who celebrated their big championship win the other week. But Coastal Carolina are a big step up from Kent State. Coastal Carolina start this one as 10-point favorites. I'm quite happy to say now that I'm taking Coastal in this one. Ryan, what are we taking for this one?
See, I don't know who's going to play for Coastal Carolina. Like, you could lose Drayson McCall, you could lose Isaiah Likely. A lot of these are locked out bowl games, but I think NIU will get brought back down to earth, the bump here. So I'll take Coastal Carolina, no matter who's going to line up.
I think that's the thing. Coastal did work without Grayson McCall for a couple of games, and they still were able to get some results with him. So, yeah, I'm taking those. Maybe the first interesting one here. So on the 18th, we've got the Boca Raton Bowl, and that is taking place between Appalachian State and Bailey Zappa's Western Kentucky, although I'm not sure if he's playing or not. Appalachian State are 3-point favorites for this game, the first one that's relatively close in there. I know how much you like Western Kentucky and Zappa, Ryan. Which way are we going for this one?
I'm going to go with Western Kentucky because Appalachian State in their championship game were really disappointing.
Western Kentucky for us. So I think this is the first time we're going to diverge here. I'll take Appalachian State for this one, but this is very close, and I won't. I could see either team winning this, so we'll see what goes on there. Continuing on the 18th, next we have the Celebration Bowl and the home of the new #1 Comet in the country, Jackson State. They're taking on South Carolina State, and they are 10-point favorites for this one. Now, I don't know as much about the FCS there, so I'm just taking the favorite in this one. What about you, Ryan?
Jacksonville State have been a powerhouse, so I expect them to go 12-1, win the bowl comfortably. Like I say, because you don't want to lose this commit already. So I think they should get the job done. Be nice for them to win a bowl game.
Yeah, definitely. Good way to usher in their brand new sparkly 5-star player. I agree. Next we have the Mexico Bowl, the New Mexico Bowl, sorry, should I say. And this one is contested between Fresno State and UTEP. And Fresno State are 11.5-point favorites for this one. The New Mexico Bowl, right? Are we going favorites here, or can UTEP cause an upset?
I can see an upset here. Got a team that's just lost its head coach, quarterback decided he was going to leave, but he's come back. Things might be a bit messy there, so I'm going to take UTEP on that one. They've had a good year.
Okay, take that. So we're going UTEP for the New Mexico Bowl. I don't know. I like Fresno State. They've had a really good year. Finished second in the Mountain West. I fancy them to get over in the line in this one. So going to take Fresno State for this one. Next up, now this is an intriguing one because on paper you'd think this might not be so close, but I've seen this team a couple of times this year and they're actually really good. So the Independence Bowl has been taken on between BYU, Brigham Young University, and UAB, the University of Alabama in Birmingham, and they have been sneaky good this year. BYU 7-point favorites, but they've got a few guys declaring for the draft. I don't know whether they're going to play or not. I think this is closer than the 7 points indicates. Who are we taking for the Independence Bowl?
BYU in a blowout. I think BYU will win big.
Ooh. See, I'm going to go UAB here. I don't know why, but I've seen them a few times this year. I've been impressed with what they've done. Don't know how many guys from BYU are playing. So as I say, a few are going to the draft. So we will see, but taking UAB in that. Next one, we have the Lending Tree Bowl. Oh, there's some good names for these. So the Liberty Flames, fronted by Malik Willis. I do believe he is playing in this one. They are playing against Eastern Michigan in what is a huge challenge for them. Liberty 9-point favorites in this. I'm going to go ahead and put their name right in. Ryan, Liberty, Eastern Michigan.
Oh, I'm taking Eastern Michigan. This has got upset rating all over it.
Ooh, Ryan's gone Eastern Michigan. Well, you have every right. I think Liberty finished off the season 3 defeats and the bounce. Willis threw 6 picks. So, you have every chance. And the Michigan sides all did well this year. I believe they'll finish 500 or above. It's been a really good year for them, and I think every single one of them got a bowl game. So, no, I can take that. Now, this is an intriguing one. Next up, you've got the LA Bowl. This is taking place between Oregon State and Utah State. Now, Utah State had that huge win in a championship game the other week, which came out of nowhere. But Oregon State themselves, they've been doing well, probably the stronger team on paper, but they did get beaten by Baylor when it came to the Big 12 championship game. Oregon State are 7-point favorites in this, which seems slightly steep, and I'm going to take an upset here, and I'm going to say Utah State for this. What about yourself, Ryan? LA Bowl, Oregon State, Utah State, which way are you leaning?
I'm going to take Oregon State. The Beavers had a really good year. They were really solid across the board, and they were firmly in that Pac-12 title race for the most of the season.
Yeah, no, I can understand perfectly going with that one. So next up, we've got the New Orleans Bowl. Now, this is maybe one that's a bit too close for comfort. I feel like it is anyhow. You've got the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, and they're playing against Marshall. Louisiana favorites by just 4.5 points. I feel like that one should be a lot bigger. Ryan, are you in concurrence that this might be an upset on the cards, or Louisiana
No.
just no?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like that money line is far, far too close for what should be in that situation. Oh, looks like Ken Stouder agrees with you in chat here. He put Go EMU, so you might have a fan there. We'll see what happens with it. Oh God, where have we got up to next? So next up we've got, and this is on the 20th now we've moved to. So we've gone from the 18th, we're on to the 20th. It's the only game this day, and this is the Myrtle Beach Bowl. That sounds like something out of Harry Potter. This is Tulsa playing Old Dominion, and you've got Tulsa as favourites on the money line by 9.5 points. Where are we going with this one?
Yeah, I'll sit with Tulsa.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I've not really seen much of Old Dominion play this year, but I have seen a little bit about Tulsa. I think I have one of their guys on one of our watch lists. Was it Jackson, the wide receiver? I could be wrong, but yeah, I feel like they're going to win that one. Now on the 21st, the greatest named one of all, we've got the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. This is taking place between Wyoming and Kent State. Wyoming are 3-point favorites for this game. Who have we got in the Idaho Potato Bowl?
I'm going to take Wyoming. Even though Kent State made the championship game, they didn't deliver, but Wyoming have got a strong offense, so I'll take the Cowboys.
I'll go for an upset. I'll say Kent State in this one. I know they didn't do well in their championship game, but they got there in the first place, or something must have been good for them to get there. So I'll give them a go in this one. Next up, we've got the Frisco Bowl. And this one is a potential intriguing matchup. We've got UTSA, the University of Texas San Antonio, who only just missed out on an unbeaten season, but went on to win the CUSA title anyhow. They're playing San Diego State. Utz are 2.5 favorites for this. And just like I did in the championship game, I'm backing them. Where are we going with this one? Utz or San Diego State?
I'm going to predict that Sincere McCormack won't play, so that hurts UTSA. I'm going to take the San Diego State upset.
For SDSU. They, of course, got blown out in that really surprising one to Utah State. I think it was San Diego, anyhow. Am I right? It was San Diego State who got blown out, wasn't it? Yeah, so we'll see, but I've got Utz in that one. Where have we got next? So next we've got the Armed Forces Bowl. That is on the 22nd. That is taking place between Army and the Missouri Tigers. And Army are 3.5-point favorites for this one. The Armed Forces Bowl, Ryan.
Oh, Army. Missouri have been awful this year.
Usually you'd probably bet against the service team in something like this, but I agree. Missouri have been underwhelming, and Army have actually been really good. And we will have to talk about that before we finish. Army played Navy the other day in the battle of the best uniforms. We will mention that before we go off there. Ken Strider says hash browns in the potato bowl. Absolutely. Hash browns are absolutely wonderful. I'm surprised the Americans have heard it. Are you not a hash brown fan?
No, they're either too dry or they're too soggy. If we order McDonald's like breakfast, I get a hash brown and give it to Lorraine. Or I get a fruit bag like a child.
Oh, I tell you, one of the best things growing up for us poor people, just eating hash brown sandwiches with mayonnaise and lettuce. Oh, absolute banger of a sandwich that is, and it's actually very good for a hangover. So up the hash browns. I do love those. Where have we got up to? So we're up to the 23rd of December now, and it is the Frisco Football Classic. That is getting contested between Miami, Ohio, home of one Sterling Weatherford, your favorite draft safety sleeper, and they're playing North Texas. Miami are 3-point favorites for this one, but North Texas blew out Utz. They are no slouches. Where are you going with the Frisco Football Classic?
I'm going to go against the line. I'm going to take North Texas. I think they're going to step up in this game.
Oh, so am I. I do have a bit of a thing for North Texas. I must admit, they produced Jalen Darden last year, who I really wanted us to sign, but unfortunately we didn't. I think he ended up in Tampa, but I've had a soft spot since, and they've been pretty good this year. And I watched them blow out Utsa. It was a really good performance and a really disappointing one by Utsa at the same time. Just down to the last few now to round out really the first half of this. So next we've got the Gasparilla Bowl. That is taking place between Florida and Central Florida. And the Gators are 6.5-point favorites for this one. And despite how, well, I say how bad a season they had, ended up being pretty good. Despite how inconsistent a season they had, I'm going with the money on this one. I'm going with Florida. How about yourself?
Fun fact, this was the first bowl game to sell out. Out of every game, I think even including most of the New Year's Six games, this sold out first because Floridians bought all the tickets. Because these are two rivals that never play each other because they're in different conferences. So this one could be spicy. I'm going to take Florida in a close one. This one's going to be chippy. They'll be fighting in this, I bet.
And we all love a good rivalry fight. Next up, and this is on the 24th, Christmas Eve, we have the Hawaii Bowl, where the aforementioned Hawaii are facing off against Memphis, who are 7-point favorites for this. You mentioned, well, we talked about them earlier and their defensive coordinator. Their offense is really good. Their defense is really terrible. Hawaii, they're a little bit of a mixed bag, but they can put up points when they want to. Upset on the cards here, or is this Memphis's to lose?
I think that money line's too small. I don't think they'll be able to handle, I can't remember his name, something Calvin Austin, star Memphis wide receiver. I think they'll win it comfortably, the Tigers.
Yeah, I've gone for Memphis in that one as well. I just think Hawaii have not been a very good team this year, and they will struggle in that one. And then the last one to round out the first half of these, Christmas Day, we have a fixture that is surprising, but you know how these things work. Georgia State, they are playing in the Camellia Bowl against Ball State, and they are only 5-point favorites for this. I will put all the money I have that Georgia State win this one. This feels like a trap in terms of betting to maybe try and get you to go for the underdog, but there's no way they're losing to Ball State, surely.
No, the Cardinals have not had a good year. Georgia State will bulldoze them.
Okay, I've gone the same there with you as well. So what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games where we've differed on here out of about 20. We will finish this off. All the New Year's Six games, the big ones, they come out in the second half, but I wasn't able to find money lines or anything for them just yet. So I thought, well, we'll incorporate that into next week's episode. But we shall keep an eye on what happens. We shall give you the latest scores between us both when we come back this time next week, and we'll see what happens. But you know, bowl season, it's going to be the last college football we get for the year, so we can enjoy it. We can probably watch most of them actually, because they're all spread over a lot of days. But just out of all those we've gone through so far, are there any there that you really want to sit down and watch, whether it be for a player you're watching or just because the team's in it?
It's going to be UCF Florida, because, like I say, they're close together. The campuses aren't all that far, but two teams that never meet one another, but have this dislike of one another. Because UCF a few years ago, when they called themselves national champions, when they went 12-0, people don't like the Central Florida Knights because they're cocky, they're super arrogant as well. Keep changing their logos. And Florida had an up and down year. They really gonna have a point to prove that they're the best team in Florida, the Gators. So there's going to be some serious bragging rights there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like you say, with these rivalry games, anything can happen, and we are all there for it. I don't know. For me, I think I'm looking forward to Utah State, Oregon State. I think that's the potential to be quite a good one. And BYU and UAB, weirdly enough, I think out of all of these. And I will always watch Coastal Carolina because they are fun. Hopefully Grayson McCall does play in that, but if not, next we'll see of him. His name will be getting called in the draft, hopefully. So yeah, I'll just end it off then. Obviously, I mentioned it in there. There was one fixture that was played this weekend. Because obviously we're coming to the end of the season now and there's not much going on, but it was the rivalry game, Navy and Army. I know Matt watched this one. I believe you did. I watched some of it as well. obviously these two known for the fantastic uniforms that they put on. We've talked about them at length there, but I mean, this one went to Navy. They ended up winning 17-13, despite Army really having the best of the first half, but they didn't put up any points whatsoever in the second. And there was a bit of a convoluted finish to this one, a bit of, could go here, there, and everywhere. But the Navy team, who only finished the season 4-8, whereas Army finished 8-4, Navy came out on top. What did you make of the game? Obviously, the uniforms were just absolutely to die for, and I wish I could have had one of them. But the game itself was interesting in parts.
It was interesting, but it wasn't great as to watch from. It was interesting. Like, Navy winning was a huge upset. Like, I thought that was a massive upset. I'm pretty sure there was a pretty good Army win streak on the line that got snapped this year. As you mentioned, the inform, Army started quickly, but in the second half, they just couldn't get anything going. Now, this is Army and Navy don't really throw the ball, but the quarterbacks actually managed to combine for over 200 passing yards, and that is unheard of in this game. You had Ty Lavatai, 4 of 6 for 82, and then you had Christian Anderson, 7 of 15 for 108. So they actually moved the ball through the air, which is things they're not known for, but the rushing offenses were just ridiculous. Like I say, Navy, 62, 33, 34, 26, 20, multiple touches for tight ends, running backs, quarterbacks, because they run triple option. So does the Army, 67, 24, 21. It's real ground and pound smash stuff. It's a bit like a UFC fight where it's ground and pound, no stand-up game, bit of wrestling. And end of the day, Navy took control of the second half, forced multiple 3-and-outs. Army just they were going for it a lot, but they just kept going for it, but they just could not get over the line. They kept turning the ball over on downs, they were punting it away. It was really un-Army-like disciplined performance. So their punting had a big day, 216 yards, which was disappointing for them because they were not able to sustain any drives, whereas Navy only had to punt 4 times for 160 yards. So they controlled the time of clock, managed to keep the ball for more possessions, and in the end came out after a really strong second half, showed a lot of discipline and guts to snap that losing streak and take some serious bragging rights, because this game means a lot more to most people, because the crowds are usually student sections and they're all military ex and current servicemen as well. So it's always a spectacle and it always gets its own day.
And of course, Navy were able to attend with their goat mascot because Army nicked the wrong one. So, there was no sort of ceremony on show for nicking the other team's mascot on the day. Oh, it's so churlish, isn't it? But it's funny at the same time.
It's only funny if you win. Maybe now they look even sillier because they lost.
Yeah, that's actually very true. I didn't even stop to think about that one, really. That literally just about everything we're going to go through. But I mean, we're going to stay here for a bit. We're going to have a little just draft talk chatter whilst we're here. So if you are still with us in the chat and you want to ask us any draft questions, then please do so. We are here to answer as best we can at this point in time. In fact, I know what I've forgotten, which I know
Didn't
we need to do.
A question?
Yes, we do. We have a listener question that was given to us yesterday. Now, let me just run back through my immense amount of Twitter. Oh God, where is it? Yeah, lovely. So, Michael Lucci's, he's been on Twitter a lot lately, chatting with us. We really appreciate you, Michael. Hopefully, if you're either on stream or you get to hear the answer to this eventually. But so yeah, we're now just talking draft. He asks, what is something you think will happen during the draft that most don't see coming? So, I know we are a little bit away at this moment in time, but sort of given what you know at the minute and given your predictions, what you think is going to happen, what do you see happening in this draft that no one else is seeing coming? What's that shocking thing that might happen?
Lions or everyone?
Lions what, sorry?
Is it just Detroit or everyone?
I think it's just in the draft in general. Well, I mean, what do you see happening in the draft? It can be a Lions one if you want, or it can just be a general thing.
Right, well, no running back will go in round 1. I don't think like there is no elite standout back. Now, the running back class is better than last year, but there's no Najee Harris in this class for me. Like there's a lot of great running backs, but like rounds 2 to 3, they will go 10 a penny. They will absolutely fly off the board. Like they will be ridiculously quick. The thing I think, despite all my like current mocks, I think the Lions will not touch a quarterback. I think Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, they will sit with Goff and Tim Boyle. They'll be the guys next year. I think they'll go quarterback 2023. I think they will just replenish the offense and defense and go again with Goff as a starter. I don't see them using any capital at the quarterback position. Maybe we'll get an undrafted guy a project, but I think they're going to conserve it. I don't see us, even though everyone thinks we need to, there's guys there. It would not surprise me if we don't take a single quarterback.
No, I can kind of agree with you there. I think my one would be about quarterbacks. I think that only one quarterback's going to go in round 1. I think that's the thing for me. I think Matt Corral is the only guy who is probably worthy of that first round pick. And given that there are a whole ton of edge defenders around this year, there's a lot of offensive tackles scheduled in the top 10. There's some good linebackers knocking in there as well. I can just see one quarterback going in round 1. That would be my shocking prediction. I know, was it Todd McShay of ESPN? He put his out the other day. He had 5 going in his, which absolutely is not going to happen. I do not think you're going to see 5 quarterbacks in the first round. It'll be a huge shock if it does, but I think only one's going to go. In terms of the Lions, I mean, if we don't get that number 1 draft pick, we pick at maybe 2 or 3. For me, because Dan Campbell, because Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, they value the trenches so much. I know we have 2 great tackles already, but if they're sat there at 2 or 3, I could see them going tackle again. I could see them going offensive tackle again to get depth there, if anything, especially as we like to use 3 guys running the ball at the minute. I think Okwenu, the North Carolina one, or you've got the Bama tackle. I don't think I don't think we saw them going tackle last year on the defensive side of it. I didn't. They went they went defensive tackle, nose tackle. They really went for the trenches. I can see them going back to the trenches again and spending a high pick on there. I think that's a shocking thing that I don't think anyone would see coming. So that's that for me. So hopefully that answers you.
That's my worst nightmare. That's my worst nightmare.
It's mine as well.
Back to like 3 and we took Evan Neal, I would be so pissed. I'd be livid.
I would as well. But I think, one, they might do it because with a long-term look at Taylor Decker, and when his contract's done, they might look at it from a monetary purpose. But like I say, because of how much we run the ball, we're using 3 tackles and we're using tight ends a lot this year. So it would kind of make sense if you're going to run the ball a lot. You could maybe afford the luxury of a 3rd great offensive tackle in there, especially a big guy like Evan Neal, who's just going to push people all over the place. So yeah, I thought about this earlier, and I think what would be the thing that would annoy me the most? I think that's how I'd answer this question, and that's if they go tackle again right early, because I don't want them to go defensive tackle either. I know people want, oh God, what's his name? Is it Davis? Is he the defensive tackle? The high one. Yeah. I've seen people doing that, and I don't want that. I don't want anywhere near there. McNeil and Levi are here. Give them some more time. Get another guy out of free agency if you have to. But I don't want to see OT or DT on the draft list this year, full stop. So I think, I could see them doing that to annoy me though. Because they did.
One thing I think the Lions will do that people might not like is the Lions are going to draft a running back, because I think DeAndre Swift is fragile. I love the kid and I want him to stay here, but I am not set on his long-term goals. I don't know how high his ceiling is, and I genuinely don't know at one point if he gets a bad injury, how he'll recover from it. So that before round 4 or 5, I think the Lions may take a running back in this deep class, someone that could be really challenging for that like every down workhorse back. I think they will bring in some competition this year.
See, I've seen some mocks, and later on I've seen Tyler Allegier mentioned. I'd be well behind something like that.
Oh
If you're getting him like in the 4th or 5th round, like I've seen, I'd totally give up a pick for him there. I don't care. He's a great running back. He's bell cow who can do a lot of work. I'd be fully up for something like that. But if they did it early, ooh, did not a chance. Like you said, there's a lot of running backs in that class, especially in 2 and 3. And we've got the comp picks, we've got the extra picks there. I just hope they resist temptation and go away from it. One Pride 40 says Jordan Davis is ranked about 26. That is true. Hopefully, well, we'll be around there, but I don't want to see his name called. I just don't want another tackle. They've invested a lot in the trenches last year. Now I want some playmakers this year. I think that's the theme of where I'm at. I want playmakers last year, but I could understand them doing it. He says, do you believe the Thibodeau rumors? I mean, we discussed this a little bit earlier, but I think right now it's far too early to judge this. I mean, for me, one of the big things, I'm waiting till Thibodeau gets down to Indianapolis if they're still having it this year and his medical's done. I'm worried about that ankle, especially given that his game is predicated on speed and athleticism. That's, his detractor is all he does is bull rush and go really quick. That is literally all he does, and he needs his ankle to be able to do that. So for me, I'd be concerned. But I don't know about you. I think you're along the same lines. You'd like to make, you won't have a problem with drafting him, but I think there's a lot that needs to be sorted first. There's a lot we need to know first, isn't there?
I'd rather take him at 2. Like I'd feel great taking him at 2. Like as pure pass rush, as like a bull rusher, he's probably better than Aiden Hutchinson. But if you're looking for technique, using your hands, like pulling guards, arms down, swim technique, you're probably looking better for Hutchinson. Like if you go looking for pure motor, like when I look at Thibodeau, I see Von Miller, because Von Miller's kind of like, a speed guy. Von Miller like stands there, crouches, and he bursts. Like that long term, I'd say health wise, I want to make sure he's 100% before I commit to him as well. I think I want to see him work out as well. The cone drills will tell us everything we need to know about the ankle, everything like that, his movement and everything. So let's see just how athletic he is. But if we took him at 1, would I be mad? Absolutely not, no. If we took him at 2, swell, great, even better value there. If we're not picking at those 2 positions, then take anyone you want. I'd say Kyle Hamilton. I'd absolutely love the kid if we're picking at the 3 or if we trade back, because just do not take a corner in the first round, please. It's such a deep, it's another deep cornerback class. Like, I know we've got questions, but please don't. I'd rather sign someone in free agency.
You can get Mikael Wright at round 3, I believe, so far, which would be terrific value. So you don't need to go early on corner. But I mean, the thing that worries me about Thibodeau, and I've said this already, he's just a bull rusher with athleticism. It doesn't work that way at the NFL level. Guards will just push you out wide, send you around a quarterback. You've got to be a lot more technical in here, and that's why I'm all on the George Karlaftis train. He has the best pass rush arsenal of any edge rusher in this draft, and he will find multiple ways to beat you. He just doesn't go for the bull rushing technique every time. And you saw what Utah did to Thibodeau. They completely and utterly rendered him a non-factor in both games. It's not like Thibodeau did anything different either. He wasn't able to adjust to their scheme and beat them. And that genuinely worries me if it's a first pick in their draft. I want to see a guy who can adapt to different situations and overcome them. So that's where my worry with him is. And I just don't really want an edge first up. But yeah, I don't believe the rumor. Ryan doesn't believe the rumor. It's just something I think that's getting started off really early, probably to wind up some Michigan fans as well. So yeah, one Pride thought he's saying Jordan Davis is 26. That seems very old, unless that'll be roughly the age he's at when he's playing in the NFL. I don't know, but that seems very old, and that would be a concern that would be an even bigger concern if we're going to draft him. But I don't want to. He's a nose tackle, and we've got a nose tackle, so that will be that there. But I mean, if obviously the college season is done now, the Lions season's still a bit to go. But I mean, what are you prioritizing at the minute as your positions for us? I mean, everyone speculates there, but I mean, what would you be priority list for positions for the Lions at the minute if you had to rank them off in your view?
Pass rush is number 1, whether that's an outside linebacker or an edge. We get zero pressure. Aquara's coming back from ACL. Flowers is gone. So the state of the edge room, we don't know who's going to be there. Austin Bryant, he's gone. He's going to be a goner probably. So we're going to have to we're going to be scrapping the bucket outside backer edge. So we're going to have vacancies there. Safety, don't know if we're going to pay Walker yet. Harris seems like he's trying his hardest to stay here, but there's a good chance he's going to be let go. We like to play 2 and 3 safeties packages right now, but we've only got one guy. So who knows, we might not have any here. Wide receiver 1, because we need someone taller than 6 foot, because right now we don't have many of those. We've got no deep threat. So we need someone to be able to take the roof off of a defense. I'd like a guard. Like I say, I'd like someone to be an understudy to Vitaly, and then quarterback. I'll put quarterback at like 4 or 5 because I don't like the class. The class has got very questionable, but I'm not opposed to taking some sort of guy like everyone knows I like Sam Howell. If he's falling into the end of 2, then let's use that compensation pick and trade up from our 3rd round. Let's nag him. Even a Desmond Ridder, who I'm not sold on, but like say if we can get like end of 2 and we can come back into the round, like sure I'll do it because we've got room to move about. So, but it's not a dire need right now because we know who the quarterback is next year anyway. So you can kick that bucket to 2023. And if you're bad enough in 2023, you're going to get Bryce Young. But I don't want to be that bad. But there's other quarterbacks in that class as well.
Yeah, I completely disagree with those who are already looking at Bryce Young. They're like, oh, we can be bad this year, we can be bad next year, get Bryce Young, then we can be good. It's like, well, it's not that easy. You've picked what, 3, 7, 3, oh, hang on, what have we done? 7, 3, 7, and then it's going to be 1 probably in the draft this year. You don't move your franchise forward by consistently finishing high in the top 10. I'm certainly not looking at doing it next year because there's a lot of mediocre teams just above us who aren't going to be as good because they're not moving forward. They're just staying in this constant mediocre mode, and we can overtake them, and we can take them quick enough. So, yeah, I don't know, but Sam Howell's the quarterback for me. If there's going to be one, I just hate the way the guy's been written off because of one game last year. I mean, you know, one of the guys put it up on Twitter the other day, and then it was Eric of all people came along and posted a screenshot of that bad pass at Virginia Tech where he got thrown round and through, and it's like, oh come on, Eric, you know better than anyone. You can't judge someone off one pass. He got sacked 6 times. He got hit about a dozen, and he's been knocked around all game. He's been pressured relentlessly. He's going to make a bad throw here and there. Players do when they're under so much pressure. You look for the rest of the season, he's been really, really good. He's got the toughness you want. He's got the arm you want. He's dual threat. If they are going to go from, but I'm in the like mind with you. I don't think they are, but I think he would be number 1 on the board, and you want to get him there. In terms of guys in the chat, so One Pride 40 says he'd go safety, defensive end, linebacker, cornerback. I'd probably switch linebacker and defensive end around, but that's how I'd like to draft. I'd like to draft safety, preferably Kyle Hamilton. I'd then like to draft linebacker, preferably Devin Lloyd. Then I'd draft defensive end, preferably Jermaine Johnson, and then maybe get a cornerback later on. Ken Strouder goes edge, safety, linebacker, cornerback, guard, wide receiver, quarterback. Now, I've seen people floating this around. They say we get Hutchinson and then we get a Jarbo after that. I'd absolutely despise that with every facet of my being. I would hate going after them 2 first. I don't want 2 edges first up. I don't know. What about you? Are you on the same train, or would you not be as mad? For me, I don't want to be spending my first 2 picks on edge rushers.
Oh, Jabo, hell no, not like 25. Like I've seen some ways like that, like 50 to 60 mark. Like he shouldn't be sitting anywhere near the first round, like because he's had a limited production. But I won't mind having both, but as hell out taking the same round. I expect a Jabo to go a few rounds later. I know people obviously love the Michigan connection, but they're not a package. They don't have to come together. Sure, they might invite pressure and make their job easier for one another, but next level, there's no guarantee that they're both going to operate in the same way. You've got to make, like say, not going to be on the same field at the same time because, well, where's Romeo going to be? Like say, it's all right drafting 2 edges, but if we're going to keep this defensive front, like you're only going to have 2, or like saying maybe a outside linebacker blitzing. So I'm not going double down on edge that high. Not in a class that's got tons of edge players. You've still got Myjai Sanders and like that from Cincinnati. Like there's some really good players there.
I think you only need one really. I think, Harris should rightfully come back. Aquara's coming back. Although they said somewhere the other day that he might not be fit for the start of next season, but I hope he is. But I'd still have him from that point of view. But I don't know. It's an odd one. I just don't really want to take an edge first. I mean, one Brad 40. He's asked if you're picking first. Well, if you're picking, who's the first pick going to be? Who do you reckon's the first guy coming off the board? Is it Aiden? Is it Thibodeau?
It's going to be. I think it'll be Thibodeau. I don't think Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have this infatuation with the whole Michigan native Wolverine has to play in Detroit. Like a lot of Twitter and the social media universe does.
Oh no, I think in general, I think if you're picking first, don't matter what team you are, any player in the draft, if you've just got a free shot at any player in the draft, you're picking one. Who are you picking as number one?
If he tests well, I'll probably take Thibodeau.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know if Thibodeau and Hutchinson are worth number one, but no one else is either. It's a bit of a weird one. Bradway says, I'm so glad Holmes is picking and not the fans. Yes, I agree. It's fun for us to pick, but at the end of the day, I fully and implicitly trust Holmes. Even if I don't like the positions or whatever, I'm going to back him 100%. He's shown that he can draft well. So I'm fully behind him, whoever he picked. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to pick my own favorite guys as well, because that's the whole point of doing this. He also mentions Nick Benito. Yeah, I agree there. I think Nick Benito's a good pickup later on. You get Jermaine Johnson at the start of the second round. You don't have to necessarily go first for that position. I think the secondary is more vital than anything. If you've got Hamilton there, I just think it's a more vital position than edge. I just think it sorts out a lot more problems. So I don't know. Receivers. Would you take a first round one? I feel like it's a luxury at this point, but I don't know. I don't think I'd be mad. It'd be like Howell. If we drafted him first, I wouldn't be mad. Obviously, I want him, but from at the start of the second.
If we're picking it like 27 onwards, yeah, I'll take a receiver because you're gonna Olave, Wilson, Burks, they'll be on the board. But then at the start of the second, you've got Jahan Dotson, you'll have David Bell, you might have Wan'Dale Robinson. So you don't have to go in the first. That second round pick, you can get yourself a great receiver. And I really like David Bell. I'd be really glad to see him. I've seen someone think he could be like the third, like that'd be a big slide, but he could be a really good pickup there. But then there's guys like in the third and fourth round, you've got like Jaquari Robinson, got A.T. Perry, Wake Forest guys that I like. Like it's an absolute draft littered with receivers. So there's no need to blow your wad on a receiver because there's big guys later in the draft.
Well, I used PFF last week when we were drafting our final season mock drafts, and they had Bell at 73 in round 3. That's why I picked him there. But I've seen people say we might need to use the Rams pick to trade up for him. It's such a wide variation. I think we'll have to wait and see how he tests. If he tests off the chart, then I don't know there. WMW2 has joined in the chat. Thanks for joining us there. They've said defensive end, linebacker, wide receiver, then safety for theirs. So, I mean, it's a common theme here. I think we've got sort of the same positions in. I think mainly defensive and then a receiver, possibly a quarterback edged in there. I mean, they've said the Rams pick can go a few ways. There might be a wide receiver or a safety if the right player is available. I think if you're looking Rams pick, you're probably looking more of a receiver than a safety, I guess. So there's a bit of a gap, isn't there, after Hamilton? I know Battle is roughly there, but he's sort of graded at the end of the first, start of the second. So I guess it depends where the Rams pick is, because that could be quite varied at the minute. But I don't know. I think that seems quite sensible. Same sort of positions.
Yeah. I see a lot of people don't like the linebacker room. I don't feel as badly as linebacker. Sure, we need to add some, but from what I've seen this year, they haven't been that bad. Like, I'm pretty sure Anzalone is almost nailed on to return. We've seen teething issues, but Barnes has been all right. Jalen Reeves maybe might have done enough to return. Aquara's played well. Like say Harris has also stepped up in the run game. It's not the worst linebacking call we've ever had. Like I would maybe go like if like Nakobe Dean maybe he's there at like 26 or 27, then yeah, I'll go get a guy like that. But I'm not going to go wild and be getting 2 and 3 like some people want, because the situation just isn't as bad as people think.
Oh no, I think Nakobe Dean and Devin Lloyd are the prizes. They are the standout guys by a long chalk. But it doesn't mean there aren't good ones there. I mean, Christian Harris, the guy I've been scouting at Alabama, he's in the 50s at the minute, so you've got value later on. If you want a steady guy, and he's a good leader on there. So yeah, I do agree. You don't have to worry too much about that. On Bradford, it says Jermaine Johnson reminds me of a long lost Smith brother. I guess he's referring Preston and Zadarius at Green Bay. Hell, if he's as good as either of those two, sign him up right away. Preston's having a really, really good year, and Zadarius has been good for some time. Now, he also said I'd go defense early. Fully agree with that. I'd spend all 3 picks, top ones on defense. If I go safety, linebacker, and edge, I'd be a really, really happy bunny. He also says, this is moving on to the lines now, but can we upset Arizona this week?
No.
Even with Connor banged up, Hopkins banged up?
No. Christian Kirk is going to tear us apart. We ain't got any corners. There's no cornerbacks.
It's going to be tough. The thing is with Kyler Murray is you have to pressure him into the bad throws, and we don't have much of a pass rush through injury and illness at the minute. So it's tough. I think we'll give them a good fight. I do. I think we'll hang around a bit. And they've got the added thing now that LA are only a game behind them. So maybe it's going to stick some pressure on them if we're around after a while. But it would be very shocking if we did land much on them at all. Ken Strouder says, Brennan Armstrong. He mentioned if we looked at him, he may be available in the 7th. Would you draft Brennan Armstrong if he's available then? If you've not gone quarterback early and you want to take a flyer?
No. I think the arm is loose and a bit wild. I think sometimes you can't always rein in you can't always teach an old dog new tricks. He's a gunslinger. He threw quite a lot of interceptions at his time in Virginia. Even for all the touchdowns, it's a bit erratic play. I don't know how well he can calm it down. But if he went undrafted, which I think he could do if he declares this year, I think he could do with returning for his own sake. But I'd certainly bring him in then. I think as a rookie, I think someone like you say, Armstrong, Zappi, they may go undrafted, but sure as hell bring one in because they could be really fun. And one of them could be the next Gardner Minshew. But yeah, with a 7th round throwaway, there's no issue with taking a quarterback at all. Because if it don't pan out, then, well, no one really cares. And if it works, you're like a genius.
Yeah, I think if you go in after someone like that, my eyes will be entirely on Grayson McCall if I'm going to take a late round flyer on somebody. Either McCall or maybe Zappi, like you've said. I think they'd be the guys I'd be looking towards if we're going to take a development project, see if we can make something out of them. WMW2 says the linebacker might be a target in the 3rd, just building talent and depth. Yeah, I agree. There are guys you can get down there who are going to be good value. Like I say, if Christian Harris slips down there, he's in the 50s and 60s at the minute. He possibly could, depending on what positional value goes in this draft. Then he'd absolutely be a steal in the 3rd. So yeah, I don't know. 1.4 says, I heard a ridiculous take on Twitter that he believes if we draft Thibodeau, he will overtake Aquaras. He will overtake the Aquaras pick. Then why did we pay Romeo? Oh, I don't know. I think we've got a varied room if you get a good rookie, don't you? Romeo's probably in his prime now, although he's going to need to come back from injury. Harris is the veteran in there who's doing really well. Thibodeau's the young guy. I think it may spell trouble for Julian. I think Julian's going to struggle to get in this team next year, especially if you get him. I don't know about you with that one.
He could struggle, which is a shame, actually, because Julian Aquara's had quite a nice year. But that's only because he's carved out a role for himself because of all the guys are missing. When everyone comes back, where's his niche? Where does he fit in? You could make the case that Thibodeau as a pure edge rusher could have a Micah Parsons effect. He could well take those pure pass rush downs from Aquara, who's gonna have a lengthy rehab. But no, paying Aquara was absolutely the right thing to do. Like I say, you had to show commitment to him in long term. After it didn't work out in New York, he came here for 2 years. He's put in good work, and I'm still convinced he'll bounce back. Maybe, who knows? I don't know what his ceiling will be, but I'm sure he'll be someone good, him, Julian, can really help Kayvon or Aiden. Probably put an arm around him and they'll be good mentors for him.
Yeah, people forget, we've got so much talent to come back from injury this year. We're talking about your Ragnar, Giet, etc. These guys who we've not had for some time now. I mean, we got AJ Parker and Evan Brown back this week. They're huge. We've missed them too, big time. Especially Evan Brown. I think he's now going to get the appreciation he deserves. We've seen what life's like without him. McCullum did all right, but he's obviously a lot better. One pride says, what about Brandon Smith? Now, I believe Brandon Smith is the linebacker from Penn State, if I'm thinking correctly. I don't think he's going to be there in the third, but he's a good player. Penn State make good linebackers. If you get a Penn State linebacker, can't really go wrong. It's like one of those guarantees. You draft them from here, they'll do well for you.
No, it's a very big, deep linebacker class. There's a lot of good players there, and I see it's another one where you don't have to go too early. In my mock, I took Micah McFadden. That was pretty much towards the end of the draft. Could surprise a few people. Go a lot sooner. It's also a position as well to look at 2023 because you might get Neffy and Noah Sewell. So, like say, if anyone wants to like a star linebacker, maybe we can wait till then. We could be in a position where we go with first round linebacker and then, like say, so it's not a position where we're going to go too heavy this year because there's good classes coming up.
Yeah, I think we're still in a position now where you really still look at best player available, I guess. There's a lot of positions that can do with the best player available at the minute, so we can still do that. And like you say, look further down the line at specific positions, just see how the cards fall on the day. I think that's certainly what Holmes is going to do in this draft. He's just going to play the hand that comes to him and, get what he can in terms of the best value there. If there's anything else in the chat just before we wrap up now, then just let us know. One Pride 40 believes that we can upset the cards. One Pride, believe me, I am the most optimistic guy on this podcast. As you know, I've predicted wins the last few weeks. I predicted the Minnesota one on my own. I predicted on the own last week, but I don't know. The cards, their defense is good. Jared Goff is not Matthew Stafford, who's able to make all these big downfield passes and really stretch them. And I think that's where the cards struggled. They couldn't get pass rush on Stafford because they were too busy defending their backfield against those long passes. Our offense doesn't provide the same sort of threat that does. And I feel like it's going to be hard to score points on them. But, when it comes Sunday, I'll probably be my usual optimistic self, but I think we are going to struggle on that one. But, I do appreciate the positivity. We always are about the positivity. So, keep on with it. And hopefully we can celebrate a second win because I do want to see us win more games this year. Not of that mindset that we need to lose out now for the number one pick. Holmes will find us value wherever we pick from. Ryan, is there anything else from you in regards to college stuff this week that you want to mention before we go off air? I imagine you want to get to bed and try and get this cold out your system.
No, I think we've kind of touched on everything now. Like I say, the second half next week. But as you mentioned, it's bowl season now. So we're at the business end of the season where there's a little trophy for everyone that takes part. And it's kind of the end now as well. After the bowl games and after once you get New Year's Day, that's kind of it till national championship then, let's say. So now it's really spread out, but it's now that it matters when it crunches the most. And all the bowl games were predicted. We could get them all wrong because every single draft eligible player probably won't play. Usually do not play a bowl game because most of these bowl games, like no disrespect to these teams, they're just a bit naff and they're not worth risking their injury.
No, exactly. It's probably only the guys who are on the fringe who maybe want to get one last good piece of tape on file that'll be going for it. But, it's one last lot of college football to look forward to before the season's done because in a month we're going to be we're not going to have any football whatsoever apart from the Super Bowl. And obviously we are not going to be in that. So that's about everything for us today and the podcast. On the podcast going forward, obviously tomorrow, the 16th of December, the Thursday on our main podcast, we will be doing a preview of the Arizona Cardinals fixture, and we will be doing it with a guest, one Jeremy Reisman of Pride of Detroit. We have been waiting for a long time to do a show with him. Obviously, he's very well respected and known in the Lions media, Twitter universe, all over the place. And we are absolutely honored to be able to do a show with him. So do clock in with us for that one. It is going to be a lot of fun. I'll be joining from work at some stage. Unfortunately, I can't do the whole thing, but I will make sure I'm involved. And I think Ryan will be there as well. In terms of the college podcast, we will probably be back next Wednesday. Obviously, with it coming close to Christmas, we will see what's up. But I'm not working next Wednesday. So we'll probably be doing next Wednesday, the 22nd of December. We will do reviews of the bowl games that have taken place. We will finish the bowl pick watch off with all the other fixtures that will be going on till about the 4th of January. We will update you on the score there, and we will go through the final etchings of the transfer portal dealings and of the recruitment classes. We'll probably take a look at the recruitment classes in more detail because it's very hard to pin them down at the minute. People are flip-flopping so quickly. So plenty to join us for next week. And as always, if you've got your draft questions, come in with them now. It is draft season. So, any questions that you have in regards to the draft, just let us know. We're going to be starting tape watching soon. I think I'm starting tomorrow. I'm going to be looking at guys for the draft, and we're going to be putting YouTube videos out on potential prospects. So if there's anyone you want us to look at, then just let us know and we will put those up for you. We do a decent job. Just go back and look at last summer. We did some preview videos of the rookies from their college footage, and they went down pretty well. So hopefully you will enjoy those. Ken Stouder goes, wash your hands. Well, I'm guessing that's in reference to winning more games. Well, there are two big schools of thought here, but me, I like wins. I think this team needs a few more wins just to really hammer in that confidence that they're getting from this increased culture here. But I can understand why people want to secure the better draft picks as well. It is just what we all believe. But that is not the end of the podcast today. So those are the main podcast and the college podcast going forward. But in roughly about an hour for now, hopefully you will still be all around and you will rejoin us because we are doing a little mini interview with Detroit Lions legendary wide receiver Herman Moore. He will be joining us for a little while. We're going to put your questions to him. We're going to ask him some questions as well. And we're going to have a nice little chat. He is an absolutely delightful person to talk to. So we're going to have good fun with that. And yeah, come in and join us if you get the opportunity. It's going to be a lot of good fun. So we've got a lot going off here, and there's a lot more we're going to announce in the near future as well in regards to in regards to everything. Ken Stouder goes, hope you make a top 10 list for each position for the upcoming class. Ken, we can certainly do that for you. Me and Ryan might do some opposing lists and see where we both rank them, but we shall certainly do that for you. But in terms of the college podcast today, thank you everyone for joining us. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for getting involved. We do really appreciate it. It's been a great season in terms of college football. It's doesn't seem long since we started doing this show, but it's been very enjoyable, and we do really appreciate you joining in with us every week. Like I say, is there anything else, Ryan, or are you good for this week?
No, I'm good. I'm working on well, it's a secret right now, but I'm working on a very famous interview. Like I say, that's almost in the bag, so keep your eyes peeled for that as well. And in the next few weeks as well, Roster Bowl, East-West Shrine Bowl game. I'm going to work on getting the rosters up for that. That's an all-star game as well as the Senior Bowl, because that will be in a few weeks. The draft positions right now, I believe, determine who sends coaches. So I believe the Lions will again be at the Senior Bowl, I think, this year. I think that's how it works. So, like I say, next few weeks, like I say, I'll be looking who's going there and also check the dates when those games are on. So that'll be coming up after the bowl games.
Yep, absolutely. The college season may be over, but our work is only just beginning. So, as I say, if you want to know anything that's going on whatsoever, just let us know and we will get that up for you. Just remains for me to go through all our socials. Obviously, you can find us all over the internet. So with for YouTube, obviously you're with us now, Roar of the Lions UK. On Twitch, you'll find us at ROTL _UK, all in caps. On Facebook, our page is Roar of the Lions UK, and our Facebook group is Detroit Lions UK One Pride Worldwide. On Twitter, you'll find us at ROTL_UK. We have just passed 1,700 followers on there. Thank you so much for following and interacting with us on there. We are doing crazy numbers at the minute, and we appreciate every single one of you who is on there. And if you're not following us yet, do come along, give us a click, and yeah, chat with us. We do enjoy talking Lions all the time. Our Instagram, ROTL_ROTL.UK. Ryan does a lot of the work over there, putting up pictures and whatnot. And then our website, you will find us at www.roarofthelionsuk.com, where you will find a lot of articles up there, Lions related. There will be a lot of stuff coming up about the draft soon. There's been a bit of a drought recently, but keep an eye on. We will be putting out a lot of content for you soon. Just remains for me to thank everyone who has joined us this evening, and we shall see you again in a week. So until then, one pride.
One pride.